Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is April the 3rd. It is our first show of April 2025. And so to celebrate, I couldn't think of a good enough April Fool's joke. So we're just putting out our penultimate ranking for the season. Uh,
Hour.
yeah, Me is, I'm using the royal we because I'm like that. But welcome to the show. If you are unfamiliar, if you don't, I mean, it's the 2025 draft ranking show. I'm going to post the link to the public version of the write up in the chat. It should be there now. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to talk about the list, go into some detail, go tier or well batches of players at a time. But I'll tell you where the tiers fall. If you want, so the top 45 get full write-ups this year on this iteration without a subscription to the website. If you want write-ups on guys all the way through the end of the list, including the watch list of players, that is at any tier for subscribers to the site. So there's a link in there if you want to give a subscription and support our work directly and have a look there. So, but the list itself is public. You can take a look at it now. I will also mention today might be a little bit frazzled. It's been a bit chaotic in my world over the last few days. I've been really busy covering the 16U Nationals for Puck Preps, which has been an experience, I guess you could say. And also, our neighborhood flooded again after some problems, and so we're lucky here. Nothing happened here, but if by some crazy chance something happens, I'm gonna run. I'm going because I gotta protect my surroundings. So hopefully nothing bad happens. We think we're in the clear,
Yep.
but just a heads up. But anyway,
And if you hear
yeah.
loud banging in my background, it's because there's work being done in my house. So I'm gonna keep my
Oh,
mic
good.
muted for a lot of the time. So
Yeah,
yeah, it's
that
gonna be a chaotic day.
people
That's why people tune in.
people love the sounds of construction in life in general. So love the sounds of construction during an internet TV show or an internet live stream is definitely gonna go over well with them. So yeah,
Absolutely.
but anyway, let's not waste any time. Let's get right into this. We have some graphics. AJ, I'll cue
Yep.
you up here. So we're going to start with our top five. We're going to go top down. And the way that this breaks down is pretty similar to last year or to the last run of rankings. We got Schaefer at 1 and Misa at 2. I split the tier there, and then for the next tier, it's Hagens, Eklund, Martone. So for that group, obviously Schaefer being at number 1, I think honestly between Schaefer and Misa, you're getting two very different players. Obviously, they're different positions, but the styles of play are also very different, and they bring different positives and different issues. But they're definitely really, really high end talents to pick up in the draft this year. But tier 2 is not that far behind for me. So Hagens, Eklund, Martone. Martone is down one spot and switched with Eklund. I just think Victor Eklund has been just an unbelievable possession player for your garden in a men's league this year. They're fighting for promotion. It's going to be insane if they get there, and they have a great young stable of guys that might be able to play some SHL minutes next year, and maybe Eklund is one of those. Really, really aggressive forechecker. Porter Martone is no slouch on his own. Honestly, if his name came up ahead of guys like Eklund and maybe even Hagens, I could be convinced. The last game I saw of Hagens was of Martone was by far his best. Just ripping apart the Barrie Colts with playmaking and just a bit of physicality as well, and some scoring chances from mid range. Like, he's just a machine. Hagens we can talk about. I'm sure Hagens is going to be an interesting topic because a lot of people seem to be a little more down on him than before. But I still remain pretty strong on James Hagens. I still think there's a really, really, really good playmaking forward there in some way. A really impressive player all around who I think there are some gaps in his game, which we can get into, but holds on to that 3 slot for me. And if he's a guy that is the one that slips in the draft a little bit, I think you're going to get a really, really good offensive player that I think has gained a lot of a physical edge over the next little while. Let's run the next batch. So that is, I believe, the next 5, which will be, we've got Cullen Potter, we've got Jackson Smith, Lyndon Lakovich, and Anton Frondel in a tier of their own. And then the 4th tier starts with Benjamin Kindle at number 10. So Kindle is up 3 spots from 13. Anton Frondel is up 5 from 14. But Lakovic, Smith, and Potter are generally in the same tier, same spot. I've seen a lot more of these guys. I've seen as much Anton Frondel as I can. And I think that in this year's class, he brings a certain level of stability and projectability to the draft class that I think is valuable this year. Because beyond this point, from Ben Kindle onward, we're getting really into the weeds really, really fast with just kind of like guys to take a swing on, and if they work out, they work out, and they may not have a huge amount of potential or in terms of upside in your lineup, but they might be players, of some kind. But I do think there's something more in guys like Potter, Smith, Lakovic, and Frondel, even with regards to like these guys' natural tools, the speed of their game, the skill level they possess. Lakovic, I think, has become a really, really impressive sort of tactical offensive player who I think people might be down on him because he's tall and not the most physical guy in the world, but I don't know. I think he just plays the game really, really intelligently all around the ice and just consistently drives results. And on a team that is not necessarily at the top of the standings, is driving a lot of their offense off his own stick. Jackson Smith, I've been watching Tri-City in the playoffs. I still feel pretty good about being really high on him. That team seems to be not quite up his alley in terms of style of play in the truest sense, but he does what he can. I think the tools are extremely impressive with him that I think that he brings a lot of upside there with some good development. And I mean, Cullen Potter, honestly, it's just a matter of the excitement level there with him and the high end potential where, whether he's a center or a winger in the NHL, he's in a tough role this year. Excuse me. He's doing a lot of really hard work playing center on a pretty good Arizona State team. I think he's got electrifying skill, which not a ton of players in this draft have, and a combination of electrifying skill and high end offensive upside. I think is very, very valuable in this class. So yeah, I mean, and Ben Kindle at 10. I mean, watching him in the playoffs again, I still feel really strongly about him. He's just one of the most efficient players that I've seen this year. Again, not a flashy player. If you watch a game of Ben Kindle or if you watch highlights of him, it might not blow you away. It might just not be, a holy crap, this guy is unbelievable level highlight package. But you watch him just deconstruct the game and elevate everyone he plays with so well, in a way that I think is different from a guy like Berkeley Catton last year, who did it with a little bit more skill and more like manipulation and stopping guys up with sort of more of a dynamic approach to offense. Kindle just sees the ice the way it is, the way the game is flowing, and just adapts himself to it really, really well, and finds ways to keep generating really good results. Every game I've seen, he has been a really impressive player everywhere except in the physical categories of the game. So if that's something that doesn't spook you, which to me, for a guy like him, how he plays, I think it makes a lot of sense as a supportive center up the middle who can make plays and elevate everyone he plays with. If he plays with a physical player, he can sort of complement that really well by finding that physical player in front. If he plays with a sniper style of winger who can really shoot the puck, he can find them in scoring areas, right? Like, he's a player who I think adapts to his surroundings really well, which to me is valuable and really, really valuable, which is what puts him in the top of the fourth tier. But we can continue with that fourth tier. I believe the next is the next 10. So the next 10 is, we've got Carter Bear leading the way down from 8. Michael Sverchek is way up at 12 right now. I will say I've bumped him down just a spot since, but we'll get to Sverchek after this tier, after we get through it. But Braden Coots is in there. Jake O'Brien, Cameron Schmidt, Logan Hensler is way up from 28 earlier in the season. We've got Bill Zonin in here as well. He's up a few slots. Eric Nilsson takes a bit of a drop down to 18. Brady Martin is also way up here. He's at 19, where he was at 43 in December. Caleb Desnoyers is at 20. He's up a few slots from 26. We've got a player that isn't ranked or wasn't ranked on my list, and Gustav Hillstrom in here. Radim, which we'll also talk about in a bit. Radim Murtka. We've got Radim Murtka down a little bit at 22. Riker Lee is way up as well. He was next door neighbors with Sverchek in December, but the more I've seen of Lee, the more I love. And again, we can talk about that after we get through this tier. Oh, sorry, we're way beyond 20. My bad. But we'll talk about that later. But let's go straight into the top of things here. So Michael Sverchek. So the thing about Sverchek is, again, it's similar to Cullen Potter. The raw tools, the raw upside, and the overall energy of his game. I think in this year's draft class, the bottom falls out in that area of the game really quickly. Like the guys who push pace, the guys who are aggressive off the puck as much as they can be. There's a lot of things I think that Sverchek brings that, I think the things he needs to improve, you can improve over time with regards to, I think, his finishing ability, like his shot quality needs to improve. I think his wrist shot release needs to improve a little bit, especially sort of from a stationary position. Just doesn't really get a whole lot of carbon on the puck, I guess you could say, not really wood anymore. But outside of that, like the tenacity, the intensity level, the 200-foot impact that he brings, the pursuit defense is really high end. And in terms of just driving 200-foot results and being really efficient, I think Sverchek deserves to be in this range. I've loved Braden Coots in the Seattle games I've seen in the playoffs this year. He's been really just the dynamic, skilled two-way center that I love to have on my roster. And I mean, what I said about a guy like Cullen Potter, I think in a lesser way you can say about Cameron Schmidt, where I mean, I've watched the Vancouver Giants in the playoffs here and there. I haven't seen as much of them as I have of Seattle and Tri-City and everything. But Schmidt, I mean, the offensive output, again, like if you just want a guy, Daniel Sprong style, right? Like where he might not be the best defensive impact player, but you can get productive years out of them and some good offensive output. I think Schmidt is a fair bet. And it's one of these guys where at the end of the day, in 15 years, if Cameron Schmidt is in the top 20 in terms of points per game from this draft class, I would not be surprised. But if he goes 50th, I also would not be surprised. Like, I feel like there's a bit of that to his profile. But for me, I mean, I look at it and go, beyond Schmidt, to me, the ceiling on these players is a little bit more limited, even if there is a little bit less sort of risk with them translating to the NHL. I mean, Schmidt kind of flies in the face a little bit of what I really value, which is that play driving, possession focused player. Schmidt is very much a, more complementary sort of finishing talent that I really, really love, but just not as much as others. But he brings it in such an exciting way with sort of the hard work, especially if there's offense to be had, that I think is really valuable. And I think he does also have this ability to antagonize and just play hard and be aggressive, and in a way that, I mean, smaller players kind of need to have, I think, in the modern era. So I think he has all the tools to make it. We'll see what happens, but the guys behind him, so the rounding out the top 20, I think all these guys are just good, solid hockey players who could maybe round out the middle of a lineup. Hensler, Zonin, Nilsson, Martin, and Desnoyers. I mean, I with Brady Martin, again, it's more about, like, I think he has gotten a little bit more fluid on his feet as the years gone on. I think he's gotten a lot smarter with picking his spots to be physical. And I think that with him, it's just a matter of just going out, and even if there's a limited upside with his game right now, I think there's still an NHL player there, right? Like he'll eat minutes. He can play physical along the boards. He absorbs pressure really, really well, which I think overcomes maybe some of the skill level and pace of play concerns that might be there with Martin. So that's what moved him up, because it got to the point in this year's draft class. It doesn't get long for me to get to the point where it's like, I don't know, like I feel like this guy could be an NHL player, and maybe in a certain role I can identify it, and here we are. And so in this class, like I very quickly after the top 20 have much less certainty about these players projecting to the NHL as like a real sort of potentially impact player. Eric Nilsson, I mean, Eric Nilsson was at 10 in December for me. And for me with Nilsson, I mean, I think he just hasn't looked as explosive and as dynamic as he did early in the year. I don't know what's going on there. But I think the bigger thing is, like, you're hoping for physical development long term. For me, looking at him, it's a matter of he's not there right now, but the tools are there. The mindset is there. There's so much there. And I would really want to work on getting him more confident in the offensive zone as more than a perimeter playmaker. I think he needs to get inside more and drive scoring chances more. And just there's development needed there, but I think that if it goes properly and goes well, you could have a really, really high end sort of middle six center who I think is really, really undervalued in this class. And with Desnoyers, I mean, I'll admit, right? Like I've never said that I don't see an NHL player with Caleb Desnoyers, right? Like I really don't. And I ran some math last night to basically, what I did is I ran treating faceoffs as a 50-50, which may not be true based on the player, but let's just, for argument's sake and for mathematics sake, 50-50. What are the odds that if you flip a coin, someone wins that coin flip 60% of the time, right? And so I basically calculated the Z score of that distribution, right? So, basically how unlikely is it that a player is as good at taking as many faceoffs as they have this year? Uh, and with Caleb Desnoyers, he is one of the best in the entire draft with regards to taking faceoffs in high volumes and winning them. So if faceoffs are a binary thing, which at the end of the day they are, but I mean, if you probably dig a little deeper mathematically, it's like there's a lot of factors that can confound that. There's a player here who I think at least projects as a third line center in the NHL really, really easily. And I feel like there might be offensive upside depending on who he plays with. It'll matter a lot about deployment with him because I think he does need a bit of a supporting cast to elevate his game more than where he is. But at the end of the day, like he's still a very, 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 very smart, capable overall player who capitalizes on the chances he gets really, really well, and that's valuable. Bill Zonin ahead of him might surprise some people, and the last thing I'll do is talk about Hensler after this. But Zonin, I think, just brings an energy and a pace of the game that I think is really, really, really important. I think he can play with a little bit more dynamic pace, where that high speed is there at times, and that lower speed is also there at times. The last game I saw of him was certainly his best as well. And so with Zonin, I think with it, if it's a bottom six NHL role, right? I would really like to see him. It kind of reminds me of like William Carrier in the NHL, where he was a very productive QMJHL player, just like Bill Zonin. Big, pretty quick in a straight line, physical, brings some basics, but on a really good team as a bottom six forward that can play center or the wing. I want a Bill Zonin on my team, right? And getting that in the back half of the first round, a complementary sort of play drive, but a bit of a play driving guy who's got the physical edge that you want. I think Bill Zonin checks a lot of those boxes. Putting him ahead of a Desnoyers for me, I just think that Desnoyers, it's the proactive versus reactive thing, right? Like for me, I value NHL players who are proactive, who cause things to happen rather than reacting to things happening to them. And I feel like Desnoyers is very good at the latter, but Bill Zonin is very good at the former. And finding some meaty middle for both of these players, I think, will be really, really important. So Hensler, on the other hand, I mean, I think he's gotten way better over the course of the year, way more comfortable with Wisconsin. And what changed things was like the last thing I did before finalizing the rankings was I watched a game of Radim Murtka and a game of Logan Hensler. And I just came away way more impressed with the skating ability of a Logan Hensler, his ability to sort of, skate with players on defensive rushes and stick with them and really sort of pressure to the outside of the ice a little bit better and close things out along the boards. I do really, really think that Hensler is not a safer pick, but there's more dynamic play to him. There's more mobility. I think also he's learned to be a little bit more confident in the offensive zone, stepping up, shaking plays off and getting up along the half wall and taking plays deep in the offensive zone. Whereas Murtka, I haven't really seen much of that at all. And I don't know, the game I saw of Murtka last and the game I saw of Hensler, very, very different levels of output and very different levels of quality. Like Murtka just got filled in and there wasn't really much there where I'm going. I mean, you're drafting him because he's the mystery box, whereas with Hensler, I think you're seeing some really, really good development in his game. So let's run, I believe it's the rest of the first round, AJ. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So the rest of the first round from 21 onward, we've got Gustav Hillstrom at 21, leading the way, an unranked player from December. We've got Radim Murtka in here, Riker Lee. Roger McQueen is in here at 24, down from 11. Justin Carbonneau stays around the same slot at 25. Malcolm Spence closes out this tier at 26. and then there's a bit of a drop, and then we start with Sacha Boumedienne, Shane Vinsagi, Cameron Reed, Blake Fiddler, Cole McKinney, and Benjamin Keevan to close out the first round. So I guess we can start by talking about Hillstrom. So that mathematics I told you about with Caleb Desnoyers, the second best in this draft class for first time eligibles is Gustav Hillstrom. So this is a guy who's taking a ton of faceoffs, winning a ton of them, and the likelihood that that's just random chance is extremely low. So this is a guy who I think, and I think he brings a lot of the traits you need for a really, really good modern center, where he's rangy, he's got good skill in his game as well. I think that definitely could be improved. And I think that would unlock a really, really high upside player there. I think there's offensive output with this guy. I think he's a really good puck distributor, really, really smart player, good with his possessions, selfless with the puck. I think with some good offensive players, you could see a really, really impressive offensive player as well here. I think he enables that. So with Hillstrom, yeah, it's a matter of a combination of size, smarts, and skating ability that I think are the fundamentals that you can build on. And I think in the SHL, he displayed that really, really well. I was a little underwhelmed by watching him in a junior hockey game, but I mean, that's not uncommon for guys that play in the SHL as well when they go back. But I do think that he still showcased a lot of really, really smart hockey, really, really capable skating ability, and some really just strong fundamentals that I don't think put him that far behind some of the guys ahead of him. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Mertka, so let's do Riker Lee. I mean, again, Riker Lee, it's one of those names like Cameron Schmidt, where it's like he's just an exciting scoring offensive player who works hard and brings a lot of the traits that you want for a guy who might be able to score in the NHL, right? That is worth betting on. I think he brings a higher sort of work rate and higher intensity level going both directions than a guy like Justin Carbonneau, especially defensively, which I mean, they're very, very close on my list. So if you wanted to bet on the pure abilities and skill level of a Justin Carbonneau over Riker Lee, I just feel like Riker has a more dynamic, push and pull on the flow of the game than a guy like Carbonneau. I think Lee also has a bit of a higher skill level, a bit better puck control, and can distribute the puck in the offensive zone really, really well in really creative ways. Whereas Carbonneau does that as well, but I feel like it's a lot of there's not as much vision and planning behind it relative to Lee. But they're very, very close on the list for a reason. And I think there are a bit of similarities to them. But when I see Riker off the puck doing what he does and how pesky he can be, I think there's value there. Whereas Carbonneau, he's more of a offensive leaning, needs a guy who can get him the puck style offensive player who has a bit more question marks about them. And Malcolm Spence is a guy who rounds out the tier. Again, I just see a limited projection with him. I think he's a pretty safe guy, physical enough. I think he's relatively skilled and pretty quick enough. Like he brings enough tools to the table where I think there should be a complementary energy forward here for a team. He's got some finishing ability as well. I don't know where he slots in on an NHL lineup, but every time I see him, he's basically the same. It's just kind of fine, and there's nothing really wrong with him. So I couldn't put him any lower than this, but especially considering the names after him. But I look at the guys ahead of him and I see a little bit more of a chance of a little bit more of an important role, but he still will play, I think, a role for an NHL team. I'm just not sure exactly how much upside and offensive output there's going to be at the next level, especially considering his age. But I mean, I think after a few more games of watching him, I haven't seen Erie in the playoffs yet, in their crazy series against Saginaw with what that has been so far. But yeah, that's an interesting one as well for me, having Malcolm Spence in there. But you could argue for him to go higher for sure. But I think the guys ahead of him, there's a bit more skill, there's a bit more creativity and a dynamic pace of play and everything, and a little bit more 200-foot sort of reliability that I buy as a projection. But closing out the first round is the beginning of the fifth tier. So Sacha Boumedienne has grown on me over the year. He was at 40 in December. I think the skating ability is worth betting on. I think the NCAA is a little bit beyond his sort of capability to process the game as it goes on as quickly as it does, but that's not something you can't learn. He is very young for the NCAA, and he's playing on a really good program in Boston University, but a really, really, really good skater who I think there's nice fundamentals to build on there that I don't know. You leave him in college for 3 more years and see what he looks like at the end of it. And I think in a late first round, betting on a guy like that, you might end up with a decent sort of 200-foot guy that might lean maybe 60-40 offensively. Shane Van Saggy, uh, 1 second. Shane Van Saggy, yeah, so Shane Van Saggy, I just watched actually the other day. Again, it's similar. I mean, it's kind of the opposite to Boumediene, where you watch him and you're like, well, I kind of know what he's going to be, right? Like, he is a very aggressive, one of the most physical players in the draft. I think he's a very, very, good complementary physical presence, like what we basically said about Bill Zonin. But I think Van Saggy's a little slower, a little bit maybe less skilled, but he just goes out and drives good results, right? Like he's efficient in his physicality. He drives play decently well. Doesn't play a ton for Michigan State, but I feel like that's going to change pretty quickly. And I feel like he could be one of the more premier power forwards in the NCAA pretty quickly. Again, though, like similar to Malcolm Spence, like in terms of upside in the NHL, I'm not sure, but there could be something interesting there down the road. I think he's an interesting case study that has maybe a limited profile, but I think you can tell that there's an NHL player of some kind there that can complement some more pacier, skilled offensive players, because he's not that deficient in those areas. My illustrious producer reminded me about Roger McQueen. So we got McQueen at 24 here in the 4th tier. So I will admit, he didn't play last night for Brandon. I think they've shut him down. And I mean, look, it's not great. The chatter is not positive on him, in terms of not quality of play, but like the projection on him. It's very quickly becoming a thing that is spreading of like the level of concern, right? And we went through the specifics of the injury a couple of episodes ago, but it is not a good thing that he's dealing with. It's not it for a physical sport like hockey. It needs to be managed very, very carefully, because part of the issue in this injury specifically might be genetic. And so if that's an issue, that might make him more prone to the same injury long term. So I don't know if there's testing that can be done for that or whatever. But in reality, though, like the injury itself is very, very tough. And the recuperation from these things often requires no physical activity or rest, and like back bracing and everything like that to sort of realign the vertebrae. And so this is an issue, right? Like it is a problem that needs to be addressed. Like the problem itself is that the posterior part of his vertebrae, so I'm using kinesiology terms, the part that's right under your skin on your spinal column, there was a slip. So there's your intervertebral disc, which is like the tissue between your vertebrae that cushions them from rubbing up against each other. But then behind your vertebrae, there's like perturbations, right? Like there's a little bit of bone that sticks out, and there's another disc that basically braces. It's kind of like a strut, right? Like it kind of braces your spinal column from behind, right? So if you, let's say, get hit from the front and your vertebrae go like this or like this, the pressure goes down on the vertebrae below it rather than like moving your it's anyway, if you look at a diagram of a spinal column from the side, you'll see what I'm saying. But it's not good. It's not ideal. So the way that I want to caution is like, at what point in the draft is it worth taking a chance on that guy, right? A profile like that. And with McQueen, I haven't been like perfectly clear on this, but I don't think has been healthy for a very, very long time, like totally healthy. And so you probably have 1 year of him in the WHL next year where you have to hope he's healthy. I mean, I guess he could go to college at this point. Like if he spends 1 more year in the WHL, gets his legs back, and then goes to college, that's entirely possible in a new world. Um, so I don't know. But the point is, like, to me, at some point, the curve of concern has to align with the actual profile of talent. And finding that point, I think maybe, especially because since I finalized my rankings, he was taken out of the lineup again. I feel like in June, when I put out my last rankings, he might be in the tier below, because I look at guys like McKinney, Fiddler. I'd say all the way down to Ben Keevan. I might go with a McQueen over a Ben Keevan, but Cole McKinney, Blake Fiddler, Cameron Reed, Shane Vinsagi, and Sasha Boumedienne, to me, I think there's a lot to like there, and there's a lot less concern. So maybe there's a team out there that will be willing to take the chance, and if they do, by all means, go nuts. But it is an issue, I think, from everything I've been hearing and everything I've been told. It's a bit spooky. It's getting to the point where it's getting spooky. I will also say to everyone who's been super chatting and donating subscriptions, thank you very, very much. This means a ton to us. If you were gifted a subscription, please email me, scouching@gmail.com, with some sort of proof that you are the profile you say you are, and I'll set you up with an account with an exclusive 100% off code where you will where you'll get access to the site for free for the duration of your membership. So thank you to everyone who's been donating. And yeah, we're gonna eat all the Costco hot dogs we can find. But anyway, let's keep going here. So what else do we have in this tier? I mean, the Fiddler and McKinney, I think, are just good, solid players who I think could play some kind of role in an NHL team, right? Like Cole McKinney, I think, brings a lot of similarities to like a guy like Brady Martin, but maybe not as resilient and physical as a guy like Martin, but just a good pressure absorbing, smart puck moving guy who has a bit of offense to his game as well. And I mean, late first round, early second, if you get that for your NHL team, I think that's fine. So let's roll. Let's roll the next group, which AJ, bail me out. It's the rest of it's the next top 10. So these are our honorable mentions. So starting things off, we've got Leo Sundqvist, who I will also admit is a little bit lower in the last couple of days, but he's still in the same tier, obviously, but we've moved things around a little bit, but still very close. My boy Quinn Beauchene at 34. We'll talk about that in a sec. Cole Reshny, Jacob Ease Wozniak, Adam Banach, Eddie Genborg, Milton Yastreen, Thomas Galvis, Arvid Drott, and LJ Mooney round out the honorable mentions for the first round. I mean, I'll start with Sundqvist. Again, a player who wasn't ranked in December for me, but I had my eye on him for Brynäs when I would watch that team back then, because he was always sticking out watching Sundqvist, or not Sundqvist, Sverchek and Hillstrom. And Sundqvist just is all speed, all offense, and just he just finds ways to generate scoring chances, right? He's quick, he's agile, and he has a wicked good shot as well. So I think that in terms of like a low floor but high ceiling pick that might turn out to be a pretty decent offensive player, there might be something there. He's a little small, and I think he needs to work on some stuff, but a good player that I've really, really liked. And again, we're in the range where whatever happens, right? Like, I don't think I'd take him in the first round, but he is one of the more exciting players that I've seen that isn't on the board yet. But Quinn Beauchene and Cole Reshny, I think Reshny now is at 33 instead of Sundqvist, but Beauchene I love. I can't stop watching Beauchene and going, I mean, I feel like there's a lot here, right? So I did some math also. So in the 27 games he's played in 2025, he's got 17 points, which is good for 22% involvement in Guelph's offense. And that's pretty good for a defenseman. If he had kept that pace the full season, he'd be up near 50 points with a higher involvement in his team's offense than Cameron Reed. So we're talking about one guy in Cameron Reed, likely ranked mid-late first round by the time the draft comes around, and Beauchene, who is like a mid-late draft guy, maybe. And they're both not the biggest guys in the world. But when I look at Beauchene, I see a guy who's very, very, very fluid on his feet, really smart with the puck on his stick, really mobile, covers the ice really well, and just monitors play really well. I think the physical side of the game needs development. But he's 6 feet and listed at almost 190 pounds. So it's not like we're talking about some 5'9" Lane Hudson style defenseman who will never play good defense, if you ask some people. So I really, 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 really do like what Quinn Beauchene brings to the table. Cole Reshny, honestly, yeah, he's a little bit higher than he is on the rankings now, but that's only because I've watched a bit of Victoria in the playoffs, and I just want to believe in him. You know, like Reshny is a guy who I just want to see work out really bad because he brings so much to the game that I love. Really good playmaker, really good finishing ability, strong, resilient player who can make plays under pressure. He's just small and not very quick. I don't think like the skating and the escape speed is just not where it needs to be. I think to project super quick easily to the NHL. But man, if my soul were more charitable to the downsides that are there with Reshny, he very easily would be ranked probably in my 20s somewhere. But I don't know. I just really believe in him. I love how he plays, and I want to see more players like Reshny in the NHL work out. Like I just think the smarts and the overall ability are just too good to ignore. Yves Wozniak, I've liked more and more as I've seen, but again, I still see like a second round, diverse forward who kind of brings a little bit of everything, but still needs like skill and skating development to really, I think, hit his ceiling in the NHL. But you kind of see the ingredients there, especially when you watch him in the SHL. I think you see a little bit of what the positives could be and maybe where the issues kind of lie. Adam Banach. So I just watched a game of Adam Banach, and I think I bumped him down below Genborg and Yastrin. Um, Honestly, with Banach, like he is a boomer bust kid. I think he played really well, right? Like, don't get me wrong, Banach played really well in that game. It was probably the best one that he's played. But his role with Youngstown, I think, has really shifted quite a lot over the course of the season. Um, he has become a lot more of a give and go focused complementary offensive player. Because I think when I watch Adam Banach, I see tremendous levels of talent. He is gifted as it gets. Really impressive player in terms of skill level and the plays he tries to put together and the way he's able to sort of circle the offensive zone and create offense is really impressive. And I think he's gotten a lot more comfortable making decisions quicker and driving play quicker in the USHL this year. But I still think that this is a guy who's 5'7", 5'8", moves his like the number of skating strides per second for him looks pretty high, but his actual generation of speed in those situations is, I think, not good enough to project to the NHL as a play driving player. So for me, a guy like Banach is a swing on being sort of more of a, I'm trying to think of an NHL example that he kind of maybe reminds me of, like maybe a Tyler Ennis, where you have a guy who's a little small and is a solid, maybe offensive contributor in the right environment and might play for a few different teams as a complementary offensive guy. But you wouldn't sign Tyler Ennis to a big contract and give him a huge role because there are limitations with his game, largely stemming from size and pure speed in their game. Like I liked Tyler Ennis and I like an Adam Banach, but there is risk, I think, with him. I think he'll be great at the U18s. I think people who have him way down the board, I think, are overcorrecting a little bit. But I think there is risk in his natural style of play and where he is now. But again, similar to a guy like Reshny, I want to bet on him. I think if he's a guy that you get in the third or fourth round because teams don't see the potential in his game, I understand maybe why. But I think at that point in the draft, you're looking at maybe, taking a guy who could, play games and be a decent offensive player in the NHL in the right situation. And if you get that outside the first round, I think you're doing really well. But the next guys, Genborg and Yastrin, with them, there's more projectability, I think. Like especially with Genborg. Like I don't think Genborg is going to be a huge play driving, high producer that is going to really move the needle for you, but he does pretty much everything you want an NHL winger to do, right? Like he's big, but he's not slow. He is, I'd say, skilled in like okay sense. Like he brings a nice package of size and skill and pace in his game that may not be the focal point of a line, but a good complement. Really physical guy though, even in the SHL, like he's not shy about it. And with some physical development, like putting on some weight and everything, like he could be a real pain to deal with. And he keeps his game super simple, right? Like if he doesn't have the puck in the offensive zone, he's going to go to the net for you, right? Like he's going to do that thing, capitalize on rebounds, play that sort of nitty gritty, down low game that NHL teams want. And so for me with Genborg, I think there's a level of projectability to that. And I've watched him in the SHL a few times. I don't think he looks that out of place there unless he's really trying to take over the game with the puck. And then that might get a little bit dicey for him. But again, he's probably going to be in Sweden for a little while, playing good minutes in the SHL in due time. And Yastreen, I mean, he's down from 29. He is, I think, a player who flashes talent that would definitely put him a lot higher on this board. But the more I watch him, the more I wonder about him projecting to the men's game. Really good straight line speed, really good playmaker. I think he's gotten a little bit more physical than he was earlier in the year. He's a little bit more active off the puck than I remember early in the year, which is good. But I watched him in the SHL, and relative to the other guys in the SHL, I kind of ordered things based on what I felt was coming away with how I came away with an impression of them in the SHL and like the potential in their game. And Yastreen, I think, just trails behind mostly everybody there, but that's not a I don't mean that to be like a knock, because him, Yenborg, Yves Wozniak, and Sundqvist are all in the same group, and they all played in the SHL this year. And I feel somewhat similarly about them all for different reasons. But Sundqvist drives scoring chances in the SHL, especially off the puck, really, really, really well, and keeps up with the flow of play in the SHL. I think the best out of all of them. Yves Wozniak is big, and I think there's a lot of development potential there with the way that he plays. Genborg is right behind him because I think there's a little bit less offensive upside than an Yves Wozniak, but still an effective player out there. And Yastreen is more like Yves Wozniak, I suppose, but just a little smaller and I think a little bit more, all about the speed of the game and pushing the game up the ice as much as he can without that sort of dynamic, stop, look around, survey the ice, and make a decision style of play. And then closing things out, I mean, Thomas Galvis is my top rated reentry, and he's up from 75 in December. With Galvis, honestly, I watched him at the World Juniors. I didn't think too much of him going into the World Juniors, watching him in Czechia a little bit. I thought that he seemed a step slower and a little less confident. But at the World Juniors, I mean, you saw, I think, a really high-end, all-around defenseman that leans offensively really, really well. Like, he looked really good at the World Juniors to me. And I sort of sat back and went, well, I'm watching all these other guys who went in the second, third, fourth round of the NHL draft in the past year or two, and I think he deserves to be part of that group. And I don't think he's that far off. I still think he's a bit of a long shot to play NHL games, but at this point, a guy that skilled and that dynamic and that creative from the defensive side of the game, I want to bet on. I mean, he's already a member of Team Scouching, so for me, it doesn't really matter. But to the public, I think there's a lot there, especially when you look at the rest of the names. I won't say much about Arvid Drott. I mean, he's a really good skating, finishing focused guy who I think there's a good level of potential in his game if he can use his speed and physicality a little bit more than he does. The skill level needs a lot of work, I think, to control the puck at those high speeds and move the puck efficiently. He just doesn't get a whole lot of puck touches because he doesn't settle the puck a tremendous amount of times. He's more of a finisher and capitalizing on the guys he plays with, but he's really an impressive package of tools to build on. And LJ Mooney closes out the guys that are on the stream in the graphic. And honestly, with LJ Mooney, like, he was in the 70s or 60s in January, and every single time I've seen him play for the national team, they're playing him at center, which, like, they've played him there a lot. Like, in terms of taking faceoffs, I mean, he's not very good at it, but they're doing it. And so clearly the NTDP sees something there in him that, he's worth playing in that kind of a position. And when I watch LJ Mooney, the Five Nations, I thought he was great at that tournament, and that kind of reignited my awareness of his game. And watching him in a couple of games since, he just seems to have that pace of play and that explosiveness back that he just did not have to sort of start the season and after his injury and coming back from his injury. I think he's slowly getting his legs back. I would not be surprised to see him have a really good under 18 tournament. That line at the Five Nations where it was him, McKinney, and was it Murtagh, I think those three guys, especially McKinney, showed really, really well there. And I think that it's no secret. I think McKinney, if you look, I could be wrong, but I think if you look at McKinney's scoring since the Five Nations or right before it, it's really improved quite a bit. And I think that that's from guys like LJ Mooney sort of finding their legs a little bit and being more of those dynamic offensive playmakers. And again, the other thing about LJ Mooney, it's similar to Cameron Schmidt. You cannot take away how hard a kid like that works out there. Like LJ Mooney remains one of the most physical players in the draft. It sounds ridiculous, but in terms of the number of times that a player throws their body into another player's body, he is doing it more often than almost everybody in the draft class. I'll check in my data set what specifically where he falls specifically, but in general, that's just what he does, as well as have some electrifying offense and finishing ability. So that closes out everybody we made a graphic for. There are 3 more names that are in the public write-up that didn't make the honorable mentions, but that's Daniil Prokhorov, Cole Temple, and Václav Nestrasil. Prokhorov, I like him. I think I've had my eye on him since the beginning of the season when I was watching who was it on his team? Oh, it was Ivan Ryabkin. I was watching Ryabkin with St. Petersburg early in the year. Oh no, not Ryabkin. Someone else, regardless. But I sort of went, who is this big, giant, lanky kid who's shooting pucks and trying to dangle everyone? This is kind of crazy. But he's kind of slow. Like, what's going on here? And it was Danilo Prokhorov. And I mean, if you want to watch a guy who scores a ton of goals and has trouble generating assists, he's a really good case study as to why that might be, right? Like, he is very big and he protects the puck pretty well, but he is also a bit rough around the edges, right? Like the skating ability is okay, and the escapability under pressure is not amazing. And he can sort of make plays without purpose. You know, he just kind of throws pucks around the ice a little bit and doesn't really seem to plan out his play as much as you'd like. But the fundamentals are really strong. I would not be surprised to see Prokhorov go pretty high in this draft as like a swing for the fences type, because in terms of a combination of size and skill and finishing ability, it doesn't take very long for him to be a pretty decent option. So, especially with how big he is, right? So, yeah, good player. But I think there's a bit of a project there. Same thing with Nestrasil and Temple. I just really like the pace of Temple's game. The creativity is really good. He's a pretty good forechecker as well. He's a little small, so maybe a bit of a long shot, but I have really liked what Temple brings to the game. And I think that when I looked at the names behind them, he was just a bit off. He's just a bit more interesting than some of the guys in tiers 6 and 7. So let's quickly, since we went through this, let's quickly go through some of the guys that I don't have ranked that are pretty highly rated on average. Let me just find that list of guys here. One moment. This and then this. But I mean, leading the way, I think the most clear, obvious one would be Ryabkin or Aitchison. So Ryabkin is ranked. He is just a lot lower. He is sitting at 56. So with Ryabkin, I mean, again, the chatter is not great. The what's going on with him is not ideal in a lot of different ways. I can't be too specific, but there's a lot out there that is not ideal with regards to like drafting a player you think can develop into an NHL player. I really am just not a huge fan of the way that he plays. I just really have a hard time watching him and going, this is an NHL level play driver that I would draft in the first round. Um, I think he is really passive. The game needs to come to him. And if he is trying to be proactive, a lot of the times it's not very productive, right? Like late hits and lazy stick checks and then hooking guys and just things where you're like, I don't know. Like this guy seems like a little bit of a liability at times. And in terms of like professional habits, that's also a thing that's been making the rounds in terms of questionability. I don't know. I just watch him and I go, I maybe I see a player there with a bit of potential as something in the NHL, but it's not my jam. I think there's a lot of question marks there that are worth bringing up that cause issues. The other one here would be Kayshawn Aitchison. So Aitchison is a guy who I just fundamentally disagree with the marketplace on, and that's just gonna be how it is. I gotta take that opinion to the grave because I've seen Aitchison a ton. I've seen his production numbers. I know what he's doing, and how impressive 26 goals is, and all of this stuff. And I'm not gonna take that away from him. It is what it is. I can't deny that. But in my line of work, I am interested in watching guys when they play the highest level of competition they play, and getting into the real nitty gritty of what is actually happening when they are on the ice. And with Aitchison, maybe I have just seen the 6 or 7 least impactful games that he has played, but I there's just not much I can really get behind in terms of the data where I go, yes, this is a guy that I want. And there isn't much when I watch the video where I go, yeah, this guy is just things aren't going his way, and the video isn't as charitable, and or the video is more charitable to him as relative to the data. And so like I don't know, I just have to go off of what I see and what I've tracked and everything like that. And really, it's just I get really spooked about guys like Aitchison, where you see him throw massive hits in highlights every so often, but in the games that I've tracked, he's not really throwing that many hits. And I've spoken to NHL analysts here and there, and they also see similar things where they're like, yeah, we see that he is not really as advertised in that area of the game while the play is going on, right? Like, and to me, that's an issue, right? If a player is advertised a certain way but is not that way, it seems a little bit problematic to me. Um, and maybe I'm overcorrecting, but the numbers are not favorable to him, right? Like he's not like on defensive rushes. I find he is extremely passive, and when he gets involved, it's just not that effective. Guys can get around him really easily. Like his skating ability, moving forwards or walking the blue line is okay. But with him, I see a lot of similarities to how I felt about a Carter Yakimchuk last year, where I saw a guy who, yeah, once the puck is in the offensive zone, he'll shoot the puck and he's got a pretty decent shot. He can step up in the offensive zone a little bit, get some chances. That's cool. But that's not the job, right? That's not an NHL defenseman's job most of the time. And I saw Yakimchuk be a little bit more physically intense than what I remember of Aitchison last year. I thought he was a little bit calmer with the puck and moving it up the ice, but they both were relatively ineffective. But I also just see a little bit less of the results defensively from Aitchison that I saw out of Yakimchuk, which is what put Yakimchuk on my board last year, but in the second round. Like I just did not, I didn't, and I saw Yakimchuk score 30 goals last year, and it just came down to how you scored those goals. And for him, it was shot volume, right? Like he's a good shooter, but it was shot volume. And for Aitchison, I see similar things there, right? Like a defenseman who scores 26 goals, but in my sample does not shoot the puck a ton at 5-on-5 because he's not in the offensive zone a ton at 5-on-5 in my sample. It's that it interests me less personally, right? So when you look deeper than the numbers, that's when there's sort of question marks to me. And I look at the other defensemen that I have on my board, and I just see guys who I think have better tools, more defensive ability, more defensive upside, and are similar players, but are probably going to be available 3 rounds later than where he goes, that I would be willing to bet on, right? And so yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm totally off base, but that is another one where he is not ranked, and a bit of an issue for me. But the other ones here, I mean, the guys that are highly ranked that I don't have ranked, Jack Nesbitt, Nathan Beam, Luca Romano. I'd say maybe you could add Carter Amico to that, but I don't know. With Amico, it's like a wild card, like because he's been hurt for so long. I didn't think he was amazing when I saw him early in the year. So I don't know. I feel like with Amico,
if someone drafts him, then that's fine. I don't whatever. I don't have the sample size and I don't have the confidence. So I just haven't put him on a list. Nesbitt, I don't know. I don't see a super high end upside guy there, right? Like I just think there are always going to be like I won't rank a guy if I feel like there's just always going to be players that I'm more interested in, right? Like especially considering that Nesbitt it seems like is going to be a first round pick, right? Like so what difference does it really make where I have him? And so for me I don't see it. Like I had him ranked in December in like sort of the third round, but I don't know. He's a player to me who plays like a third line NHL center, but in the OHL. And historically, for me, that's not a great combination or resume to project to the NHL long term, but we'll see. And Nathan Beam, I just think is a very offensive player who I don't think his style of play translates to the NHL very well. Like he's not the best pacey player skating wise. He's a pretty decent playmaker, but I'm not really sold on it like being projectable. Um, but I mean, I don't know, past a certain point in this draft, if you think you can really develop him well, then go nuts. Same thing with Luca Romano, very similar, I'd say, case study. Um, the rest, I mean, it's whatever. Guard, Zada, Wojtek Chihash, like these are all guys who just haven't moved the needle for me as much. Like Matthew Guard, I think, is the guy that might be of all of these, the one that might have in terms of tools, the ones that the type of the profile that interests me the most. But I'm not, but I don't buy it in terms of like high end upside. Like I think he's a good skater who gets up and down the ice pretty well and he can throw hits, which is good. It's a good combination to have. But again, like who does he knock off the list? I don't really know. I value these sort of high pace, high skill, finishing guys who just have all around really solid games with and without the puck, even if there is a bit more risk to them. So guys like Skvortsov, Alain Samake, Max Psenichka with Portland, even Reese Hamilton, a couple of guys in Sweden, Peyton Kettles, like all these guys I think bring solid floors to work with that you could develop into something a little bit more dependable. But I mean, guard, is he that far off from that group for me? Probably not. But yeah, I mean, other than that, I mean, that's basically the guys that I don't have ranked at all, that I have ranked a lot or that a lot of people have ranked pretty high. Other guys that are high on other people's boards that I don't have high, Will Moore and Jack Murtag are two. I with Murtag, I've seen him be solid, right? Like he's I think in the offensive zone, he can be a really good slippery dual threat offensive player that complements guys like the ones he plays with really, really well. I think he could be a really good college player. I'm not sold on his style of play in the NHL though, personally. And again, it's not my brand, right? Like he's a bit of a power forward who doesn't really drive huge results in my sample size, right? Outside the offensive zone, especially. Will Moore, I mean, look, if someone takes Will Moore like where he was slated to go earlier in the year and he's like a first round pick, I get it. I see why. I think with him, there's moments where you see really creative skill and good puck protection and driving to the net and making plays and doing everything you need him to do. I think that's fine. But for me, there's inconsistency there. I think the impact on the game is lower than I would like. But the talent is there. Like he's the top of the next tier, right? He's the number one name there. I might have Sean Barnhill ahead of him and a few other names now in a higher tier after seeing a bit more of Barnhill. But regardless, Moore is a good player and I really, really like him. But I just the consistency has not been there as much as I'd like. And the skill level, like there's a lot of good but not great there. And I don't know. It's been a tricky season for him. So maybe it's just an off year and he comes back better than ever. I think he's going to have a really good college career. I think that he's going to project really well to college. But we'll see. I don't know. Like he's not down that far, but I mean, Central Scouting had him at 32 in North America. I have him probably right around that range at 46. Like 32nd in North America might project to maybe 40th or 50th, maybe considering Europeans and maybe a couple of goalies going. But yeah, so and just a couple of highlights for the rest of the post, and you can read the post in the chat. We've posted the link as well, so you can check out the public post there.
It's pinned.
It's pinned. Yeah, there you go. So the full write-ups for all 80 players that I have ranked and the watch list are paywalled, so you can subscribe at any tier and you'll get access through the blogs that are behind the paywall. But some highlights that I wanted to highlight before we move on to questions. I mean, I really am curious about a lot of the guys in my sixth tier, right? Like there's just a lot of, I called it the neat swings. Barnhill leads the way there. I think the upside there is enormous. I think if you just develop him over the next 3 or 4 years, I think he's just going to get better and better and better. And he's had a better second half on paper than he did in the first half. Tanus Luke Koblar, I should say. I think he's been really good in the playoffs for his team. He's down a little bit on the list, but every time I watch him, he's one of those guys where I can just sit back and go, yep, that was smart. Yep, that was good. That was smart. That was good. And he has all the signs in the data for me of being a guy who regresses positively next year production wise. And I think the better he is at skating, the more and more he'll get in terms of good. What a weird sentence. But the better he'll get, the better he can skate from here, because everything else is there. Skill, the mentality, the mindset, 200-foot impact. Like he has everything. So for me, he's a guy who nobody else has ranked. And so I will be happy to put him on a team scouting list at some point in the draft. Who else is in here that I want to talk about? I mean, Will Bell was in the first time around, but now he's at 51. I mean, he's a guy where I just constantly want him to be something different, something that he could be, but he just has not been there just yet. The numbers are still good for him. I still believe that there's something there. But relative to guys like Bill Zonin and who else am I thinking of here? McKinney, perhaps, Genborg, even a Prokhorov. Like I just think he's behind those guys, Nestrasil, because I don't know. I'd love to coach him. I would love to take Will Bell on my team and try to work with him and get him to be this big, skilled jerk. I'd love to see that out of him. You know, Shane Van Sage comes to mind, but he just hasn't quite captured that consistently enough for me. I've got Ludwig Johnson in here as well. I love him. I've seen him in Switzerland a few times this year. He's driving extremely good results, overall, better than I thought. And I think his defensive zone play really does still need work, but the skill level and the creativity and the vision on the ice is really high end there. And I don't know. I thought he was really good at the World Juniors, so I'm more than happy to have him on my list. I really do believe there's something good there. Topias Hunanen basically factored into half of his team's points in the series that kept them in Liga. So Jukurit is going to stay in Liga for next year. But I think Hunanen had like 9 points in the 4 games of the 5-game series they played. And that guy is just a really excellent complementary forward, right? Like, I don't know. I've really, really liked him this year. I still think that his upside is very, very limited. But as a grinder who may be a little small, but really just is effective and quick and good around the net and can produce, yeah, I'll take that any day. Who else is in here that I want to go over, or can we get to questions here? I mean, yeah, you can check out the list yourself. The rest is pretty straightforward. You'll notice I had to do this. I had to do it. The last name on the watch list. You can see it on the blog post. I came across this guy literally 2 days before putting out the ranking, and I wanted to see more. So I am a gigantic international hockey dork, and I noticed that Lithuania has already posted their World Championship team, which is in Division 1B this year, I believe. And I noticed that they put a 17-year-old defenseman on there, or an 18-year-old defenseman on there. And I went and checked him out. He plays in the Latvian league for the team that's in Lithuania. And Simonas Valavonis, yeah. I really liked him. I mean, obviously, he's an extremely, 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 extremely raw player, right? Like, I think he needs to get a lot stronger. But it's like he sees these exit passes and these breakout passes really, really well. It's just he does not get nearly enough energy behind them. But he's got a really good shot from the point. He is also, I clocked him a few times on a few offensive rushes in the games that I saw, and he is just as fast as a blue line to blue line on the rush as pretty much anyone outside of the top end speed guys in this draft. Like, he is a really interesting player who I don't think I would draft, but I had to put him down because I don't want to forget about him. And I feel like that there's a few Lithuanian players who are kind of making a push to like put them on the map a little bit more. There's him and Simas Ignatovičius, who this past season, he played in the Swiss League, the second division league in Switzerland this year, and was a point a game player for his junior team in Switzerland. And I think he looks pretty good and projectable, big, skilled, and a really, really interesting player that I think there might be some juice coming out of Lithuania. And Simonas Valavonis was the one that I watched where I went, okay, like, it's a long way off here, but this is a guy who plays in Latvia in their top division, which is not a great league, but it is possible to do well there and look like a good player. And he's almost involved in 25% of his team's offense. And I've really liked what I've seen out of him. So that's the last one I wanted to throw out there. So props to Lithuania. And I was talking, who was I talking to? I think it was it, I forget who I was talking to. It might have been David Phillips, but they have a skills coach there's a skills coach, a Lithuanian skills coach who also works with the program that Valavonis plays for, which makes sense. Because apparently he's doing a lot of work with prep school teams on the East Coast in the States, and it's going well. So yeah, I can't remember his name, but there is some stuff coming out of Lithuania here and there. But yeah, other than that, I think that about does it for the actual breakdown of the actual rankings. So let me just check my basement's not flooding. We're good. But yeah, we can move on to questions. I'm going to take a sip of water. I don't know, AJ, do you have anything that you've been withholding from me this whole time that you want to get out before we get into questions? Or do you just assume that everything I say is good because I'm a smarty boy?
Well, partially. I assume what you say is good because you are a smarty boy. But I also think it's funny that now forever tied to you will be this Lithuanian kid that you like more than Kashan Aitchison.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. But, I mean, think about the calculus here, right? Like, Kashan Aitchison's going to go in the first round.
Oh, yeah.
Would I ever draft him in the first round? Absolutely not. Would I draft Simonas Valavonis in the first round? You're no goddamn way. And that's the purpose of the watch list. It's not necessarily ranking these guys, but it's like, I don't want to forget they exist. I want to see what happens to them like in 5 to 7 years, right? Like Andrei Zavadsky's on here, Ivan Fomin is on here.
Yeah. That was the other thing I was going to say. I'm disappointed in you for not putting Ivan Fomin actually in this top end of the list.
The more I saw, the more I went, God, it's just not going to work. I love him.
You're not allowed to think that, Will. You're not allowed to think that.
I know, but I love him, but God, he is admirable, but probably not gonna work out, which is sad. But I love him. I don't know. Would I draft him? Probably not. But if he takes a few steps and maybe has a growth spurt, I don't know. Put some vitamins in his Metamucil or something, and maybe he grows.
We'll sign him to the Dubai Mighty Camels or Fighting Camels, whatever they're called.
Yeah. Whenever I end up in the UAE, he can play for the Dubai Mighty Camels and put up 10 points a game for me. He'll do that for me any day. But yeah, that's unfortunate. But yeah, Fomin ends up on the watch list, and I don't think he's on the short list anymore for team Scouching this year.
That's because you're gonna have 2 more years to get him.
Exactly. At least. Probably 4. Probably 4. Okay, well, then let's get into the questions. Again, the back half of the show is answering Q&As and doing whatever. So if you have anything you'd like to go over, again, the ranking is a pinned message in the chat, so you can check it out there if you want. And let's start at the top. So I know it's only 2025, but did you catch a look at Scott Wheeler's super early 2026 draft rankings? I did not, so I pulled it up. So let's take a look. I mean, I'm assuming that this is, just good for content and everything. But yeah, so I pulled it up, and I'm not sure if it's paywalled. I don't know. but he's got McKenna at 1 and Stenberg at 2. I probably will have the same thing going into next season. Ryan Rubrek at 3, like Ryan Rubrek, Ryan Lynn, Viggo Bjork, and Keaton Verhoff round out the rest of the top of the second tier, I should say. I like all of these players. I feel like with Ryan Rubrek, the last guy he kind of reminded me of is Patrick Laine. Like, I think there's a bit of that to his game where, you know, he needs the right situation to thrive, but he could be a very good offensive player in the NHL, right? I love Ryan Lynn. I really like Viggo Bjork. Keaton Verhoff, I like him quite a lot, but I'm not totally sold on him being like a super, super high pick for next year. The guy I love next year is Mathis Preston. I think Mathis Preston has a ton of upside and another good season of development. Could be really good for him. He was born on my birthday, so best day of the year. We got Tinnis Koblar this year and Mathis Preston next year. My boys, born the first birthday I had after graduating high school. So what was I doing on my 18th birthday? Can I remember? Well,
I have an idea, but it's not PG.
I might have been working. Was July 21st a weekday?
That's big sad.
I might have been on a construction site. July 21st, 2008 was the day that Radovan Karadzic was arrested. That's fun. It was a Monday. So yeah, I was probably at work. So,
Who?
oh well. The former Serbian dictator, quasi-dictator who did some bad things in the 90s.
Okay.
But anyway, Mathis Preston, yeah, was he the guy who killed himself on camera live, or was he
What?
No, he's alive. There was a guy who drank poison in a courtroom before he could be convicted, but it wasn't him.
Please,
anyway.
YouTube, don't demonetize us for that.
Whatever. We'll be fine.
No,
anyway.
we won't be. Please.
We'll cut it out. We'll cut it out of the show. But
oh,
whatever.
great. More work for me. Fantastic.
I'll do it. It's my problem. I'll worry about
Good.
it. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about a lot of these players to be as sold on this as maybe I should be. But the guys that I have seen last year that I like Chase Reed has looked really good with the Sioux. He's in the 20s for Scott. I think Vladimir Drevechky and Xavier Villeneuve are going to be big guys on my list next year, especially Villeneuve. I don't know. I look at Xavier Villeneuve and see one of the most exciting offensive defensemen that I've seen in a long time. Especially like if he were a draft eligible this year, he'd be pretty high on my list, just because of what he's capable of. And relative to the guys he has ahead of him, like Burchild, Fyodorov, Nordmark. Right now, I like all those guys less than what I've seen of Villeneuve. Hermanson, even Aram Olsen. I just haven't seen that level of offensive output that I have out of Villeneuve. I like Carson Carrolls as well, but yeah, I mean, oh my God, he's got 1 billion honorable mentions. That's the trademark Scott Wheeler move. But yeah. Okay. McQueen or Nestrasil? Probably McQueen, but I don't know. Probably McQueen, but if I had the intelligence agency that could collect as much information as they could, I could see, based on what I've been talking to people about and hearing, I could see how Nestrasil would be the guy that you might go for instead. Who's your most overrated prospect this year? Last year, you weren't high on Levashikov, Parekh, or Seneca compared to where they were picked. In that same vein, who are some unconventional risers? Well, Parekh went right around where I had him ranked. I think he went 10th, and I had him at 12th, or something like that, 13. So that makes sense to me. But yeah, Levshinov and Seneca, they went really high. I mean, I think Radim Murtka is going to go really, really high. I wouldn't do it personally. I just think there's way further to go than I think people are leading on, but there's a nice set of tools there to play with. But I mean, when I looked at Murtka, I went back and looked at some of my video of Levshinov last year. I might go with Levshinov over a Murtka, right? And to me, I wasn't a huge fan of Levshinov last year anyway. or Murtka and Salayev last year. Like I see a little bit more out of those guys than I have seen out of Murtka, but there's potential.
Just for the record, Perek went 9th overall.
9th. So yeah, I had him at 12, I think, and he went 9. So I mean, and where Calgary took him, I think it makes sense. I probably would have pushed for Bouillon, but Perek has been very good this year. Perek has been really, really good. Who else might be thrown in this category? I mean, if a guy like Caleb Desnoyers goes like 2nd or 3rd, then yeah, I think that would be a case as well. I mean, I've seen better of him, or I've thought more of him recently than at the beginning of the year, but I don't know. I watched him back to back with the guys I have in my top 10, and I can't do it. I can't do it, right? Like I don't know. Maybe I'm totally off base, but yeah, I don't know. He's a tricky one for me to get on board with as much as other people, and I feel like he's a guy who, especially if he goes to the U18s, which may not happen because Moncton might just go really deep in the playoffs. But if he's there, he'll probably score a bunch, and people will rally around that. And a guy like Hagens won't. Like James Hagens is done playing hockey, right? So what happens then? I don't know. Yeah, Desnoyers got 2 points a game in the playoffs this year, so he's elite, I suppose.
First overall confirmed.
Exactly, first overall confirmed because Matthew Schaefer hasn't played because
how many points does Matthew Schaefer have in the playoffs, huh?
0. Yeah, Michael Misa, their series they're down 2, I think, right?
Yeah, but he's won a Memorial Cup, so it doesn't matter.
That's true. He's already got a Memorial Cup. He's a proven winner.
Which actually should mean first overall.
Yeah. So that series is 2-1. So Saginaw won in overtime. Oh my goodness. They won in overtime Tuesday night. I didn't realize that. That was an important win. They came away with. But anyway, yeah. How do you think Rinzel and Moore did against the Avs? I did not see that game. I only saw the game against Utah. I think Rinzel though has looked really, really good, like better than I thought he would at this level. He's looked really confident, and when he has the puck, he's looked really, really, really solid. Moore, I think, is a bit of a little bit of a ways away in terms of looking comfortable in the NHL, but in general, like he has all the right ingredients, right? Like when he moves the puck, it's usually to the right person, the right direction, the right idea. I think he just needs to get stronger. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think he also needs to really work on getting deeper into the offensive zone with the puck, working dump and chases rather than putting it on net from the perimeter. I would really, really want to see some tweaks there, but I think there's still a ton of upside with Moore. And I've liked both of them, but Rinzel to me has looked a little bit better. Did you have time to watch Demidov playoff games versus Dynamo? He looks like their best player. It's reassuring he looks like this in the playoffs, and his coach is the worst coach ever. Well, I mean, I can't speak to his coach being the worst coach ever, but yeah, it's not great to see him playing that much. But I mean, yeah, I've seen Demidov here and there over the course of the year, and he's Ivan Demidov, man. Like he's sick, and yeah, I don't know, not much else to say. I mean, at the end of the day, he's going to be in Montreal probably next year. So I guess he'll be free of the worst coach ever, in your words, pretty soon. What was it? There was a clip I saw of, was it Nikita Zadorov talking about Roman Rotenberg and how just strange and unusual he is. And I don't know. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but it was kind of funny. What are your thoughts on Malte Voss? Do you think he could be a solid bottom pairing guy? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think he's perfectly adequate and fine. I had him ranked. I pulled him off the list after the last time I saw him, just because, he plays the style of play where I'm like, yeah, you could draft and develop him and place him in the roster and just call it a day there, blah, 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 maybe, sure, whatever. But would I really want to, draft a player that does that? Or do I want to maybe take a long shot that has a lot of potential but may not get there? Personally, I go with the latter, but Voss is solid. He does the job. He does it okay. And yeah, bottom pair, decent guy who might kill penalties. Sure. How would you compare the future projection for Barnhill and Engel? Where or why does Barnhill have the edge? So yeah, I see with Barnhill, I mean, he's bigger. That's one. But the reach that Barnhill has and the way he uses it is really good, combined with his mobility. Like, he's also one of the few defensemen this year that I've seen really do a good job picking his spots to play physical and executing it really, really well. Like, he just plays a really solid defense first game. And then once in a while, you see him carry the puck from below the goal line and just blow through everybody. And so I don't know. I mean, with Engel, I see a little bit more of a safer, dynamic, controlling possession style of play. Whereas Barnhill is more just like aggressive and give me the puck, find an option. And if he, I would love to see him nurtured to like move things along on his own a little bit more, like get the puck up the ice with his possession and be a little more confident with the puck. Cause I think there's a lot to take home with him there. It's like, I don't know. I could see him go relatively high in the draft. The fans of the team that drafts him go, why did we draft a guy who has 11 points in the USHL who's just big? Like, are we a dumb team? Blah, blah, blah. And then in 2 years, they're like, oh my God, this guy is holy crap. Because I think it's like Ludwig Johnson a little bit, where there's a lot of like almost. It's like, okay, I see what you're trying to do, but it just didn't work out. But let's see where it goes. Like, there's a lot of that to his game. It's just he's bigger, a better skater, more mobile, and more physical. So to me, I like him quite a lot. But Engel is fine. I like Engel too. No, I did not get around to watching Koivunen and McGroarty. I just have been too busy with nationals, and like I watched hours of hockey yesterday, and I thought about watching some stuff. I watched a lot of college free agents. I did a live stream with Broad Street Hockey and watched a game of Denver Barkey on a live stream, so you can check that out on Broad Street Hockey. We watched a game of Denver Barkey. It was a lot of fun, and so I've just been watching a ton of hockey. And past a certain point, I just can't do it. Especially the 16U Nationals. That's a grind. I'll tell you what. God bless puck preps. How do you feel about Will Sharp with his struggles to adjust to a tragic Kelowna roster? I mean, I don't know. Look, when I watched Will Sharp on his point scoring streak to start the year, I just didn't buy it. Like, he's a guy who I think puts pucks on net, has a bit of skill, and is positionally pretty aware, but I didn't really see a projectable defenseman there. And so for him to be moved to a team with less ideal surroundings and him struggle in terms of putting points on the board doesn't really surprise me a whole lot. I feel like a team will take a chance on him with regards to his skill level and the potential there that might be there, but I don't know. He just didn't really move the needle for me enough where it's like, when is he the best player on my board? And I don't really know. Lev Katzen, I do have Lev Katzen ranked. He's small, but on a team like Guelph, I mean, he is a player who I think needs other guys to do a lot of heavy lifting for him. But again, he's a tenacious kid, skates well, skates hard, has a really good shot, but just doesn't cover a whole lot of ice, both off the puck and on it. And that can be a bit problematic. But in terms of just creativity and finesse in the scoring areas of the ice, like, he's really good at it. So maybe there's something there, but a really good college player I could at least see. We got a super chat. Thoughts on Marco Kasper's rookie season? Thank you again for your donation.
Thank you for your money. It is much appreciated.
I've been really impressed with Marco Kasper in Detroit. Like, he was on my Calder ballot last month. I really, really like the sort of all around game that he plays. Like, he's not an impressive offensive player, but with offensive players, he chips in really well. He's not an amazing defensive player, but he's a very good one. And he's a very good one, but he with the right surroundings, he complements those guys really, really well too, right? I'd say, a really good winger. Like, he's always been this way, right? Like, and I think this is a lot of the style of play that Detroit has drafted high in the draft, is these dependable 200-foot physical guys who also have pace in their game and bring a lot of everything, but nothing that's like the defining part of their game, right? Because everything is pretty good. So, and he's carried that into the NHL, which is hard to do. I like him. I mean, he's playing well, and he's being put in a position to succeed, which is great. So yeah, thank you again. I hope that answers your question. Okay. How can you compare Easton Cowan to Sverchek. Sverchek is, I think, way more high motor, high energy, like speedy. Cowan is a much more capable passer and playmaker at lower speeds than Sverchek. Like Sverchek needs to learn some things from Cowan, I would say, where it's like learn how to sort of play a little bit slow down, take a bit of a more of a survey of the ice. You know, everything with him happens very quickly and everything happens at a high pace of play, which you can't do all the time. And I think that's the big knock against him is it's like, and I think that's the thing that I've learned over the years is like these really fast, intense guys, you can do that, but it's really hard to consistently get offensive chances and generate offense in the NHL if you're constantly just go, make a play as quick as you can and blah, blah, blah. Like you need to be able to set things up, get set up on a cycle, you know, be a little more patient and be able to play at a lower speed of play as well. And I think that's the thing that he needs to learn. Whereas Cowan kind of walks that line extremely well. He can play slow, he can play a little bit quicker. He makes plays quickly, but he can also stop and survey and see other options and all that stuff. So I think Sverchek definitely has that gap in his game that could be a big hurdle to overcome. But again, the energy, the excitement, the skill level, the vision, it's all really, really impressive. Like the tools are there. So for me, it puts him that high on the list because in this draft class, things open up really quickly, and he very quickly to me becomes the most exciting sort of high-end potential player that's available. Thoughts on Sacha Boisvert going to BU in his development this year? Well, I mean, I don't know if this is true or not, but there's a lot of the reliability of TikTok comments. I mean, it seems like there are reasons why people have been transferring away from North Dakota that are very silly. But
it's because it's in Dakota.
Yeah, sure. I mean, my hypothesis is these kids went to North Dakota hoping that they're like, oh my God, after school, I can go see Mount Rushmore and get all American up and cultured up. And then they find out that it's actually in South Dakota and they go, crap. And now they all want to leave because they're like, man, they sold me a bad bill of goods. I could have gone to Mount Rushmore once a week and really just, you know, been proud of the flag that I represent. But unfortunately I can't because it's the wrong, you know, it's the wrong Dakota. But no, that's definitely not why they transferred. I don't know. I mean, look, I haven't seen a ton of North Dakota this year, to be honest. But what I did see, I thought Boisvert was pretty much the same as he was last year, right? Like there's this inconsistency, but the talent is there. The profile is there. The skill, the size, the tenacity. He brings a lot to the table. It's just not as often as I'd like to see. I think BU is going to be good for him. They're losing some guys and they're going to have some room on the roster. So hopefully it works. But yeah, I mean, North Dakota, I think the reason he left was not just because he didn't like the program. But regardless, yeah, interesting stuff to see these guys transferring this quickly. Jaden Perron's the other one that I'll be very curious about seeing how he does now that he is transferred to Michigan. So we'll see. And Will Whitelaw transferred as well. Again, from Wisconsin to Michigan and from Michigan to Western Michigan. I mean, if you do your homework, there's a little bit of an explanation as to why he might be jumping around from program to program and those ones specifically. But anyway,
all hail Will Whiteclaw.
Right. Well, we'll see. That's a good player, but yeah. I've watched a decent amount of Hillstrom shifts. I felt crazy for thinking he was a first round guy because no one had him there, but I'm glad. Yeah. Hillstrom, again, like it's a matter of like, this happens a lot, right? And I think this is why my list ends up looking a lot different to a lot of people because I think I'm okay at sitting back, watching a certain group of players, throwing one in from outside that group and going, does this player belong in this group or not? And when I was watching guys like Zonin, Nilsson, Martin, Danewaye, even Mertka, Hensler, I go to watch Gustav Hillstrom and I go, I think he has definitely some positives and negatives that put him in a group with these guys. And in terms of the way that he plays, I feel like that you can bet on that with how he does, right? Like he's a good anchor player, right? Like he is exactly the type of center that I love to see anchoring a line, right? 200-foot impact, large and in charge, could be more physical in his game, but smart on the puck and does a lot of things well, right? With some upside with regards to the skill level and offensive zone play that I think could be really beneficial.
Will's new type, large and in charge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're going to be large, you better be in charge.
Damn straight.
I know you're skeptical of him, but how much do you expect McQueen's health issue to impact his draft position to teams? Again, I can only go off of what I have heard and talked to people about, but it is not looking awesome. I mean, the chatter is not positive, and I said this earlier. Like they've taken him out of the series. I believe they're still in it. I want to double check that, but yeah, Saskatoon's gone. But yeah, so Brandon won. So they're still in the series, but McQueen, I don't believe, is going to play. And it's just because he just can't play. Like he just is not in game shape anymore, right? Like the playoff shape that he needs to be in. So unfortunately, they're sitting him. So, their season probably is coming to an end anyway. So I think they're just playing it safe. It might be, but the point is like what would you do? Right. Like I guess what I'm saying is like, if you can go and watch some McQueen of October or whatever, where before he was hurt, and March McQueen, and ask yourself, knowing the injury problems and looking up what the injury is, what would you do? Right. I can't tell you what one NHL team is going to think relative to another, right? Like all it takes is one team to go, yeah, we're not that worried, right? Like we think there's huge upside with this guy and we're not that worried. And they take the gamble on him at whatever, 8, right? Okay. If it works out, it doesn't change the fact that the math on him is not positive right now, right? Like you're taking a calculated gamble, and if it works out, great, right? But it doesn't change the fact that the situation is what it is, right? And if it were like Matthew Schaefer's broken collarbone, I wouldn't be as concerned. But it is a spinal problem with a kid who's 6'6" and probably going to put on more weight and has not been healthy pretty much all season long, right? That, I don't know. I don't know about that personally. So I'm only one person. There's a discussion to be had, but I come down on the more pessimistic side, especially relative to what else I could possibly get in this class.
Also, Will has a kinesiology background, correct? To an extent?
I do. My diploma is somewhere in this house. I don't know where, but it is somewhere here. I could show it to you, but I don't know where it is. It does exist. I would argue it's a little out of date, but I mean,
you're better versed in it than most.
Yeah, the human body still is what it was in 2012. Medical science may have progressed, but spinal stuff is tough. Back injuries, especially for big people, are really tricky. Like you got to be really careful. So I mean, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Which center in the 4 to 8 range would be the best fit to play with Michkov on the Flyers? Likely available in that range, Higgins. Because beyond that, I mean, you're looking. I mean, maybe Desnoyers. I mean, I want to say Ben Kindle, but you're not drafting him that high. Like centers,
they're not.
Again,
they're definitely not drafting Ben Kindle that high.
No, there's no way they're doing that, and they have like 2 or 3 first-round picks, so they could probably draft him later anyway. I mean, if Higgins slips, I'd say Higgins. And I think Higgins in Philadelphia makes sense. I think he's getting a little bit of a physical edge to him that I think would make sense for a guy like Michkov to play off of. I think if you ask a lot of people, they might go, well, that's 2 small players, and you can't have that. And I don't know, like if they go for a Brady Martin or something, I'd be very surprised, but whatever, right? NHL people will love guys like that. Caleb Desnoyers, I could also see that happening, right? Like, and I think a guy like Denoyer playing with a Michkov does make a lot of sense in terms of generating offense, but I still just don't really know about the actual value at all ends of the ice that a guy like Denoyer will bring. But his style of play should complement a guy like Michkov pretty well. So take that for what you will. Thoughts on Stankoven's fight? I mean, yeah, he fought and still got a star of the game. And
Did he win the fight? Because I didn't see it.
I did not see it, but I don't care. I'm gonna look at it. I'm gonna watch it.
He better win the fight. If he doesn't win the fight, just tell me he won.
All right, let's see.
Because I just want to believe he won the fight.
Did he win?
That's
well, not real. It's hard to see. Oh, he got mauled by 3 guys who are all gigantic. Who was it? Fairvari, Protus, and Wilson all on him.
Oh,
with Jack Roslovic hugging all of them.
No,
so,
no.
Good for him. Oh no, that was Kotkaniemi. But did Tom Wilson go after him?
This is why I don't like Tom Wilson, even though he carried me to a
Even
though he carried me to another fantasy trophy this year. I was not expecting Tom Wilson to be my top-rated player on a championship-winning team. I didn't even draft him. I picked him up. I mean,
Stankoven started it, kinda. But, I mean, that's why I love Logan Stankoven.
Yeah.
And that's why I watch guys like him and I go, this guy's valuable. Like, Logan Stankoven will cross-check Tom Wilson after the whistle. He'll go after Tom Wilson if he wants, right? Like, good, right? Like, that. Yeah, isn't that what we want? Right? Like, isn't that what we want out of a hockey player?
But small.
Yeah, pretty small, right? Like, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. But good for him, regardless. And I mean, it was kind of a wash of a fight, but they went at it. It was a good time. Boopy doopy doo. Yeah, it was a draw. What are your thoughts on Will Moore? We kind of went over him already. Biggest names to watch at the U18s. Well, it's hard to say for Canada because their roster might be
a bunch of big names.
Well, they might all be in the playoffs still.
Okay, fair enough.
Let me see. Playoff bracket. Who's likely getting eliminated? So North Bay is probably on their way out. I don't know. Shamar Moses might go, but I doubt it. Niagara, Ethan Zada, if they lose that series, I'd say Zada will be there. Maybe Rubrek. Sudbury is probably getting eliminated, so I don't know who would go from them, if anybody.
This tournament's of 07s. Yes?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. If you're a late birthday 06, you're not eligible. Oshawa's up 2-1 on Brampton, but I don't know who's going to win that series. I don't know. But Porto Martone can't go anyway, so you maybe like is Lucas Carmira still eligible? Ivan Kovic would be there probably, almost certainly. If Oshawa gets eliminated, there might be a few from there. Owen Sound, I mean, it would be nice to see Harry Nancy in a Canada jersey, maybe. The Sioux Greyhounds, that would mean Brady Martin is going, I would think. Who else? Maybe, Travis Hayes is American, so maybe Travis Hayes goes to the US team. Flint is down 2-1. I imagine Flint loses to Kitchener, but you never know. Flint has Lombardi. Maybe is Jimmy Lombardi Canadian? I don't remember. I think he is. But he could go. I could see Lombardi being a guy that goes. Yeah, he's from Toronto. Attaboy. Saginaw Erie.
The best city ever.
If Erie gets eliminated, it will be very interesting to see if Schaefer goes because he's still eligible. If Saginaw gets eliminated, you're going to see Michael Misa. I would almost be certain.
Yep.
Maybe Jacob Cloutier goes from that team as well. That could be fun. Out west, I mean, Peyton Kettles probably from Swift Current is going if Medicine Hat finishes that series off. Swift Current also has, I'm trying to think, maybe McGregor on defense might be an option. PA, I don't know about anyone on PA. Maybe Daxon Rudolph gets a call, but I wouldn't be certain of that. Saskatoon, I mean, David Lewandowski probably is going. Where's is Germany in it this year? Lewandowski probably if
Yeah, it looks like it.
yeah, Germany's in it. I think Norway was the team that got booted last year. Yeah, Germany's Norway is
No,
there.
they're there.
Yeah, Norway is there. Okay. But anyway. Brandon, Jordan Gavin, maybe.
Medium elite potential on on one of the NHL games.
Yeah. Yeah. Who else? I mean, Seattle's up 2-1 on Everett, but if Seattle gets eliminated, I imagine Coots and Mertka will go.
Oh no, not
Cole Temple, if Everett gets eliminated, might be an option.
Why am I forgetting this guy's name? I literally did a game tape on him, and I'm forgetting his name. It's not Lyndon Lakovic.
No,
the first guy we did. The exceptional. Why am I forgetting?
Dupont. Yeah, Landon
Yeah,
Dupont.
Landon Dupont.
Yeah, he might be an option.
Yeah.
Tri-City is down 3-1. I would think that means Jackson Smith is a penned in name for the under 18s if he wants to go. There's a few, like, I don't know. And in Quebec, oh, the bracket's not loading. Great, cool, very cool. There it is. So Moncton's already gone through. I would imagine they're going to go deep. Quebec, maybe Nathan Quinn. You see, Charlottetown. I don't know about anybody there. Maybe Owen Conrad. Yeah, I don't know. Because Carbonneau's not eligible. They're down 3-1. Maybe Nobert will go then. Val-d'Or, I think you'll see Philippe Veilleux. I watched him the other night. He's on the list now. He's not on the ranking that I just put out, but I don't know. I think there's maybe something there with him that's kind of neat. And I was watching him and he was pretty good, but they are down 3-1 in their series as well. So I don't know. It's going to be, it could have a good team though. The States team, I mean, I'd keep an eye on Cole McKinney, LJ Mooney for sure. Sweden could have a really good team as well, especially if Djurgården's out of the playoffs for whatever reason and they get Frondell back. Maybe that could be fun. I'll be looking for Tinus Koblar, though, for the Norwegian team. That boy, man, I'm hoping at some point he has an offensive breakthrough. It'd be fun if he did it at the U18s. But
you and Felix Beto Robbins.
Yeah, me and him by ourselves. And if Michael Sverchek is there for Slovakia, which I imagine he will be, and he scores 0 points, I can't wait for that. That's going to be a great time.
You have a guy ranked 12 and he's got 0 points. You must be an idiot.
You must be a moron.
Yeah.
Igor Chernyshov, opinion. He's very, very good offensive player. Very good offensive player. And him and Michael Misa are disgusting together. It's too bad they gave up a bajillion goals in the first 2 goals of the playoffs.
And there is a video room on him that you can go watch after the stream because we like having better average viewer duration on these. So just hold your horses, wait a little bit, and then there's more content for you to consume of ours.
Exactly. The Ducks acquired Herman Truff in the Dumoulin trade. Any thoughts on him? I don't know anything about him. Love him. I love Herman Truff. He was in my first round last year. Like physical, skilled, confident. I love him.
Fits with what Anaheim wants.
Yeah, he's what Anaheim should be going out and getting if they want to play that way. Like that's exactly the type of player that I think fits what Pat Verbeek seems to want and value. And he's actually good. Like I think he's actually a good player. So yeah, I think getting him for a Brian Dumoulin, no brainer. That's a no brainer to me.
And you think he's going to slot in third line, like just be your third line guy.
Yeah, like a good
for the future.
Yeah. Do you think Higgins turns into a better player than Cooley? Probably not. So Sean
Cooley's
Farrell's
too sick.
Cooley's too sick.
He's so good, man.
Yeah. So Sean Farrell's been over a point a game player in the first half of the season for Laval. Is there still hope for him in the NHL, or is he trending more towards being a tweener? I'd like to see him get a run, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's just boxed out of that lineup. I hope he's a thing because I've always loved Sean Farrell. But yeah, I mean, it would be nice if he got a look, for a few games at the end of the year or early next season. But there are other guys that I think of just like, is he going to be a bottom 6 NHL player? Maybe not on the Habs, considering guys like Beck and Kapanen and a few others like look like players that are further up the depth chart than a guy like Farrell. Maybe, but if he's a guy that ends up on another team and gets a chance there, I would not be surprised to see him maybe be a decent energy forward. That's always kind of what I felt he was going to be anyway.
Hey, but you know who is playing in Montreal tonight? even though he's not on their team. He's on the team that's coming in. After a 1-game absence where the Boston Bruins just had him sit to watch for a little bit. My boy's back, baby.
Oh boy. Mr. Liesel
He's going to score 20 points.
in 1 game.
Yep.
Beautiful.
No, but
favorite...
tonight he gets his first point. He
Yeah.
He has to. He has to. Please, God, please. Please.
Favorite defenseman for the mid to late first round? I mean, probably Hensler.
Ooh, has Grav really swayed you that much?
Hensler swayed me that much, but I don't know, man. Like, the floor of this draft is pretty low, so it's like, yeah, he's got good tools and he's gotten a lot better this season, and yeah, cool. That's about it. So probably Hensler. Mertka's a nice mystery box, but he'll be gone by that point, I think. Do you think Thomas Pobajal maybe is a guy that gets picks in the first few rounds? He seems to be doing well in Slovakia. I don't have him ranked. I don't know. I have to do another look at him though. It's been a long time since I've watched him play, but I just did not see a guy who really moved the needle a whole lot in that league, but got a lot of rebounds and was found in the offensive zone a lot for scoring chances and just capitalized on them. I don't know. I liked him last year, so I'll circle back, but yeah, I haven't seen a ton of them, and I wasn't loving what I saw. Since you mentioned Latvia, have you seen Alberts Smits playing for Ukraine and had a fast rise to the Liga? A little bit. He's pretty good.
I knew the answer was going to be yes as soon as it was a Latvia-related question.
I saw him play for the Latvian team, I think, at some point this year, and I went, "Who's that guy?" And I went, "Oh, he's not even in Latvia anymore. He's in Finland." So someone in Finland took him from Latvia because you probably want to be playing in Finland rather than Latvia if you're really, really good. And so, yeah, he's looked pretty good. I'll be curious about watching him next season, but I thought he was an impressive player.
Will secretly roots for Latvia at all international tournaments.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I guess it's not secret now.
Well, no. But I wish I saw Latvians. I wish I knew some Latvians so I could, get
Don't you?
Not really. I know Sphinx is hello. Something like that.
Anyway. the language. I thought
the language.
Sorry, I thought.
I know Latvians.
Yeah.
I know some Latvians. Yeah, the Toronto Latvian community, solidarity.
Coming from like the most. What's a good way to put it? The most Anglo-Canadian.
Yes.
Out there.
Yes, Latvian Canadians.
The biggest munja cake on planet Earth for all my Italian Canadians out there who get the reference.
What prospects are the opposite of HSN and have the most accurate narrative surrounding their play? Probably what I've heard about Braden Coots or Brady Martin, I think, is really spot on out there. Justin Carbonneau, I think, is pretty spot on. Ben Saggy, I think those are all pretty accurately portrayed out there. Maybe Cameron Reed too. I think those are all really pretty spot on. Cameron Schmidt, I'd say that's pretty spot on as well. Unless someone's calling him lazy or something, then I would have an issue. Victor Eklund, people I think have really nailed Victor Eklund. So yeah, I bet. Well, thank you, whoever WG is. You've been paying our bills. You're very generous. Thank you very much.
We love you.
And I hope we're the best prospect analysis online. We will.
Oh, come on, more confidence than that. We are. You are really.
Time will tell. If Michael Sverchek ends up a third-line SHL player in 10 years, then maybe I have some things to think about.
Yes, but William, let us go back and relive some of your correct picks. Logan Stankoven. How good has he been? He's been awesome. Where'd you have Elias Pettersson in 2017? That was his year? Where'd you have him? Yeah. Well, we won't talk about where you had Kel McCarr, but it doesn't matter because we're only going over the top end stuff.
No. I don't know.
But generally, Will is a lot more right than he is wrong.
I guess. Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it.
Think about it. What, Matt Nyes was a miss, but you saw barely anything of him?
Well, everybody missed on Matt Nyes. He went in the late second round.
Yeah.
everybody was missing out on
Wyatt
that.
Johnson, but there was literally nothing
He
on
didn't
him
play.
other than
played
the
the
year
under-18.
before.
I mean, I will say the big thing that I have learned is leaning into my gut more.
Yeah.
Right? Like Lafreniere at number 1 in 2020, my gut did not want to do that. I think I was the only person in the world who had him and Byfield in a tier together. And
I remember a Cam Robinson thing where he had
oh,
Byfield
okay.
ahead.
Right. Okay. But I mean, I enjoyed every time I sat down and watched Tim Stützle, Lucas Raymond, and Marco Rossi. I had way more fun watching those guys than Alexis Lafreniere, and even maybe Quinton Byfield. So if anything, all 5 of those guys should have been together. But I mean, yeah, I in retrospect, even in my gut, I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm missing something, but these other guys look awesome, and I don't know. I will say I also took a lot of crap from people about Jack Quinn, and him being with Buffalo and Marco Rossi going his direction and being a guy drafted after Jack Quinn. But now I feel pretty good. No offense to Jack Quinn, but Marco Rossi is just mwah. I love watching that guy in the
And that's
NHL.
why Minnesota wants to get rid of him so bad,
Exactly,
right, Will?
because I like him.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because Bill Guerin hates you.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have an idea of when we'll see guys like John Mustard or William Zellers in a pro league? I mean, I think Mustard, you give him 2 more years, right? Like he was one of the youngest NCAA players this year. Like keep in mind, he's very, 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 very young. He's still 18, and I think he's going to be 18 until September. So yeah, very young kid. I'd give him at least another season or 2, probably 2. Will Zellers, I mean, he hasn't even gotten to college yet. I think Zellers is probably not a one and done, but I think 2 years maybe makes sense for him. I forget where he's going to college, but he's at North Dakota, so he's going to Nodak. We'll see what that team looks like next year because they're losing some big names. They're getting Andrew O'Neill, he's pretty good. Ashton Schultz, he's fun to watch. Cooper Simpson, so they're getting some decent players for next season. So maybe he'll have some fun toys to play with. It'll be nice seeing Ashton Schultz being able to set him up for goals or whatever. But yeah, fun. There was a player drafted in 2005, 26th overall, who had 6 points in 31 games. Who is that in 2005?
Who's that Pokemon?
Who's that Pokemon? 26th in 2005. Oh, Matt Pellick.
Where was he drafted?
Calgary.
Okay.
Boy, yikes. Not gonna lie, before I saw it, okay, blah 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 blah. In Carolina, we all know Artemonov's going to be the GOAT in their system. How do you differentiate between guys like Trikozov, Ungersoren, Perron, Paravalov, and Nato in terms of future roles? Well, Trikozov is a long-term project. I know some people in Carolina, and we talk once in a while, and because obviously with me talking about Trikozov as much as I did in his draft year, they're gonna bug me about him, right? Like they're gonna be like, you love this kid and whatever. Obviously, I thought he was better than his point totals would indicate in Russian in the AHL this year. Obviously, the injuries are stacking things up against him. I know that Omsk is a place that I think now NHL teams are very wary of with regards to development of young players, and I think it's pretty telling that guys like Mukhanov are gone. Mukhanov also, by the way, having a really good playoff in the KHL, but Mukhanov is now in Cherepovets. Trikozov left at 19 years old to jump to the AHL. So it's really early for him to be in the NHL or in the AHL. And so I think he is going to be a long-term bet, and being injured does not help. But they're trying to work with him, and they do think that I think he could be an NHL player, and I think they would agree as well. Unger Sorum is, I think, a little bit of a ways away. Like he's really, really, really smart, but I still think there's work to be done in terms of overall play driving and keeping up with NHL pace that I think is problematic right now. Perron's problems are a lot more mental in terms of like seeing the game, processing the game, moving the puck under control, because the talent is undeniable. So he's a boomer bust guy to me. Paravalov, I think, is a long shot at best, I think. Nadeau, I mean, already is touching the NHL, and I think as a middle six offensive player, yeah, like there could be something there. Trikozov, though, I will say, I went back and watched my video on Trikozov that I had banked up because I kind of went, all right, maybe I missed something here. And I watched him and watched some other guys in that draft class around that range, and I just still feel like he was extremely good in that draft class, and I feel like he's still worth the bet, worth the time. And a tough couple of years probably caused some damage that I think he's going to need time to recover from. But he's still only 19 years old or whatever. And I think or is he 20 now? He's very young, is what I'm saying. Yeah, he's 20. He's 20, so he doesn't turn 21 until August. So there's still time. He's not small, and I still believe that there's a lot to work on there.
And his name is Gleb. How awesome is that?
How can you leave that behind? But anyway, let's keep going here. Who's the fave going into U18s? I would say Sweden, but I wouldn't count out Canada. And it might come down to goaltending. And if Ivan Kovic is there for whatever reason or something, then it could be really interesting.
Well, if Sweden's a favorite, you know they're going to choke because that's just what happens, unfortunately.
Probably. Thoughts on oh God.
I love the Swedes. It pains me too. I want to see them win stuff. Please.
It would be nice, yeah. Does Matthew Nice go top 10 in a 2021 redraft? Probably.
It's very possible.
Very
possible.
Yeah. Beniers, McTavish. Like, I'd take him over who?
Don't you dare. Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. Don't you dare say it. Even though it's true, don't you dare say it.
What?
No, no.
Power?
Well, that's obvious.
I don't think I'd take him over Beniers or I don't know. What? I don't understand. What are you concerned about?
2021. Who's my boy?
Oh, Fabian Liesel. I would take him over Fabian Liesel.
All right, stream's done. The show's over. We're done. We're done here.
Eklund, probably not Beniers. I don't know. Maybe not even Ken Johnson. Not Luke Hughes. Probably. Yeah, but like, yeah, top 10. Yeah, I think I'd have him top 10 with hindsight.
We're not friends anymore. We're not friends anymore.
You'll come crawling back.
Well, I'm still here, aren't I?
That's true. You are. Ben Danford looked great in the last playoff game for Oshawa. Yeah, I mean, that's what Ben Danford does. He is a pressure absorber. He is a guy. He is a solid guy. And yeah, he's fine.
He'll be better than OEL currently.
God, I'm not touching that. Any plans to release a dedicated video on Haggins? Yes, but probably not for a little while because I like to leave the top rated guys until right before the draft. But scouting reports are going to start probably middle of this month. Last minute, I'm going on a last minute road trip to Columbus for the analytics conference there next week. So I'll be there. But after I'm back, that's when I'm going to really start pushing out the reports. Because by that point, I'm probably done with the 16U coverage. And then it'll be full on Scouch report season, and we'll go from there. I saw that Jackson Blake just became the first player drafted 4th round or below to score 30 points in a rookie season since Jesper Bratt. That's good for him. Damn, good for Jackson Blake. What a nice young man. As Leaf fans and prospect nerds, who would you say are the most Dubas and Clark prospects in this class?
The biggest nerd that you haven't heard about yet.
I would say Ben Kindle very easily could be a guy they draft. Jake O'Brien. Who else? Cole Reshny? I don't know. Yeah.
They'll get somebody worthwhile.
Yep. Favorite college defenseman, Hensler or Boumadjian? Hensler. Where do you have Hoonanen ranked? I have Hoonanen at
55 or something like
54.
That. Okay.
54. Can you increase your output volume? The YouTube ads are a lot louder than your volume. Oh, that's on the producer. But yeah, sorry about that. I got my project for next season is figuring out my audio setup here because I have no idea why this is the way that it is. Sharks probably finished second to last at this pace. Unfortunately, our kids are too good and Chicago sucks too bad. Yeah, but you'll be fine. Don't worry.
Second to last, who cares? Honestly, yeah, it's a lottery. You could literally win the first overall pick. It does not matter.
Still possible. Thoughts on Mason West? huge, decent skater who I am not sold on being. I don't know what he is, but he's huge and is a decent skater. I've seen him in the USHL a couple times now, and he's been fine. I wouldn't say awesome, but he's been fine. And I know there's questions about him playing football as well, and that might be a question mark, but obviously in an interview, that's pretty easy to clear up. Like, don't BS us, kid. Do you want to play football? Because tell us now, you know, and you go from there. But yeah, I don't know. I think
before you say, hey, nice to meet you, it's don't BS us, kid.
Don't BS us. Football or hockey? Any thoughts on Ryan St. Louis? Not really, not in detail, and I don't really have the time to BS a response about him, but I know he's had an okay season in college, so that's been fun. Why is Sean Barnhill not higher on most boards? Big skinny defensemen tend to be liked by most scouts. Points? I don't know.
I mean, you pronounced it wrong. It's Boints.
Yeah, Boints. I think he is also a little bit flawed with how he moves the puck and seeing the ice and being dependable in that area, and maybe they value that too. But I mean, yeah, he checks a lot of the boxes, and I have him higher than the NHL seems to have him, so I'm happy. What middle of the draft prospect would have a team horny if you're picking 15 through 20? I mean, Aitchison, I would say. Like, he's gonna go in that range, and yeah.
What a great phrasing.
Yeah.
Or what great phrasing.
Horny. I mean, if McQueen is still available, there might be a team in there that goes, okay, around now we're gonna have to, because what about what if, right? Like, what if he's this? What if he's that? I mean, look, if a team drafts like a Daniil Prokhorov, I could see them, you know, like if someone in the middle of the first round is like, screw it, let's take the giant, raw, lanky kid who can shoot. That would be very surprising, but it would be a lot of fun. How has Carter Yakimchuk looked this year? Less points in his game, but he's rounded out his game. Well, again, like the points he produced last year, in my opinion, were produced in an unprojectable way, like an unreliable way. So it doesn't surprise me that his offensive output kind of dried up a little bit. I think he is a little bit better defensively from what I've seen this year than last year. Like, he seems to be a little bit more patient, a little bit better positionally, like making it a little bit easier on him to defend. But yeah, I mean, he's looked fine, right? But yeah, like, is he an NHL defenseman next year? God, I don't know. But again, like, watching him in the preseason and everything, everybody lost their mind. But I mean, yeah, like, I'm not going to dispute that he has tools in the offensive zone, and those are definitely still coming out in junior. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Horkoff, I have him ranked. I think he's a project. Big, heavy guy who's skates big and heavy and has some skill, but yeah, he's fine. Thoughts on Matthias Van Hanen? Fun to watch kid in Finland, skilled, pretty agile, but I just don't think he's got NHL level skill, pace, or speed or whatever to make it work. Very young though, and if he's drafted, I could see why. If he goes undrafted, I would keep him on a list and check him out next year if he's in Liga and see how he does. Him and Sumovori are teammates and line mates, and I think I feel similarly about both of them. Since 2010, among QMJHL forwards who have become stars in points drafted in the first round, 75 to 80, there are 6 out of 30 forwards drafted in. Since 2010, in round 1, there are 6 players that score 75 to 80 points a year. 6 out of 30 forwards drafted in the first round from QMJHL, roughly. Yeah, I mean, the number of players from the Quebec League in general have dropped pretty precipitously in the last 10 years. I was going to say 10 decades. But anyway, yeah. Thoughts on the guy at Arizona State who's 17? Oh, Cullen Potter. Unreal. I have him at 6. Super fun, fast, and skilled combined. Really, really good player. Based on current ranking, who do you see being the best fit for Habs, assuming they draft middle of the pack? I mean, Cullen Potter in Arizona with a guy, or in Montreal with a guy like, with guys like Cole Caulfield or Patrick Laine or whoever else on the team could be a tremendous amount of fun. And if it's the middle of the first round, I think that's a perfectly acceptable place to pick him. That's who I would target if I'm Montreal. Like, Michael Hage and Cullen Potter on the same team is stupid. It's stupid. Really, really stupid in a good way. Other than that, I mean, like a Lyndon Lagovich maybe, or
Yeah.
Carter Bear in Montreal could be a lot of fun as well. I don't know about Braden Coots because they kind of have a lot of those types of players already.
You can never have enough Braden Coots.
That's true. And maybe they go with Cameron Schmidt, room him with Cole Caulfield. Maybe, I don't know. But they'll have some good options. I
Too
think.
many small players on that team already, Will. Too many small players.
Everyone is more or less trashing the 07s and 08s from Finland, but whenever I've seen them against Sweden or the US, for example, the players perform well and stand out ahead of higher rated players. Yes,
That's
that
just
is true.
Finland.
That's just Finland, baby. That's just how it goes.
Better than the sum of their, or greater than the sum of their own parts, but individually not as
tricky. I mean, yeah, the Finns that I've seen as potential NHL players, like maybe Bullius is one. Westergaard, I think, is a long way off, but maybe. I don't know. The 08s, I think, from Finland are better, but it's tricky. And I know NHL teams feel very, very similarly, right? Like it's not about individual games, it's about how a player plays. And yeah, but I agree. Like they show up for sure.
Oh, no.
Will the Leafs win the cup?
No.
AJ? No?
No. I don't think so. I want them to, but like, I just don't believe in the way they play. I don't believe in the idea of playing as passively as they do and just letting their opponents take the game to them. Yeah, do they forecheck more? Sure. But they're not playing with pace that I want. Like I've stopped watching every single game because I just don't enjoy the team as much anymore.
Right.
I don't enjoy it as much. They're
Product
not
isn't
as
as
fun.
entertaining.
It's not. It really isn't.
They've kind of forgotten that this is an entertainment business.
Well, it's like, yeah, is the goaltending excellent? Yes. Do they have a core of forwards that is still ridiculous and could carry them to a Stanley Cup? Absolutely. But I think I've said it before that this team to me feels like the undeserving team that makes the finals and gets stomped. That's what they feel like to me.
Could you imagine if that happens? Could
I
you
can.
imagine Toronto Maple Leafs after 70 years or whatever it is?
They haven't
years,
made the finals since they won the cup.
No, but for the first time in almost 60 years, they make a Stanley Cup final and just get blown out.
Yeah. That's what, honestly,
that is the next phase of being a Toronto Maple Leaf fan, right?
That's kind of what but it's not
and your heart still gets absolutely ripped out.
But it's not because they're the Toronto Maple Leafs that I think that that's going to happen. Because I know there's a lot of people who go, oh, they're going to find a way to choke it. I just look at the current construction of this team, and I've seen teams go on playoff runs where they shouldn't be in the finals, and they get demolished. The Dallas Stars against the Tampa Bay Lightning in, 2020?
Yep.
Montreal against Tampa Bay, right? I think I didn't give Florida enough credit when they lost to Vegas, but they really relied on Bob, and it showed when the wheels fell off. So I could see that kind of similar thing happening with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Or think about the New York Rangers that made it against the LA Kings, right? New York Rangers were just a goalie. It's a little different, but they were just a goalie.
Yeah, I mean, we're not that far off from finding out, right? In a month from now, we may know a lot more about who the Toronto Maple Leafs are.
If I'm wrong, I don't care. I'd be very happy to be wrong. I'll celebrate. It'll be great.
Yeah, sure.
Will I feel a little, I don't know, will there be a little bit of a tainted feeling about it because I was wrong? Maybe. Because that's just how I am. Yep. But I'll still enjoy it.
Okay, let's keep moving.
Yeah, we got to rip through these now.
Yeah. There was a follow-up to that Finland thing. Are these performances when they perform on par or better than the ones that are rated so highly? I mean, Finland is just, I think, underrated when they come together as a group.
Yes.
For sure. But I mean, if I'm scouting, it's kind of important, but I still watch them with their clubs and watch them elsewhere, and things get a little bit more murky. So I'm sure it's something worth noting, but yeah, it's tough. Toronto doesn't have Dubas or Clark anymore. They have the Dallas guy that found Johnston and Stank. Right, but they're in Pittsburgh, so Your Garden and AIK is on track to fight in a derby for an SHL spot. Yes, it would be. That's a Stockholm derby for a spot in the SHL next season, and there might be combat, I think, in that situation. So, and I'm sure we'll have a correspondent in Mikhail Holm there who will see it happen one way or the other, and he does not like AIK whatsoever. I agree. Defenseman.
That's because he grew up a Djurgården fan.
Exactly. So Brian Stewart. Yeah, I agree. Points don't matter when you're a defenseman. They don't at all. You mentioned Veilleux. What has caught your interest? I mean, he's really small, and I worry about the speed of his game translating. But I watched him, and I went, look, this kid can really skate in terms of like getting around. Like his edges are good, and he's not the quickest, he's not the fastest guy, but he's quick, if that makes sense. His skill level, his hands are quick, his skill level's really creative, and he can absolutely rip hockey pucks. So it's like, you know what, like maybe similar to like a Justin Poirier last year, there might be something there. And I think he has a little bit more of a creative, sort of dynamic, four-directional game to him than a guy like Poirier did last year. Poirier was kind of just get up the ice and put pucks on net. But I mean, Veilleux, like he's probably just a curiosity swing who has finishing ability that I just kind of watched and I went, he's better in terms of scoring the puck than some of the guys I have ranked up front. So I'll put him down and see what happens. If McKenna, Bedard, or Celebrini were in the same glass, who would you pick first, and who do you think has the most upside? Loaded question, I know. Probably Bedard first. I'd go with Bedard first, then
Celebrini.
Probably Celebrini, but that's a tough call. McKenna is to me, it's like, do you take Connor Bedard because he's kind of his own person, or Patrick Kane, or who's Macklin Celebrini like? I don't know. Like, I don't know, because like you'll get a ton of points out of a Gavin McKenna probably. But yeah, I don't know. Flip a coin maybe between those two, but I really think Bedard has a ton of headroom to develop. Which player will be drafted a lot higher? Who do you think Ottawa picks in the middle of the draft? They drafted a bunch of mutants last year. While I like size, in hindsight, picking Eliasson over Hudson is dumb. Well, their scouting staff, I think, is exactly the same, so I imagine you can expect exactly the same things. So Ottawa,
Kashan Aitchison.
I don't think they have a first-round pick. Do
no.
They?
Oh, sorry. Middle. Are you saying middle rounds?
Middle of the draft, I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Who are the biggest players available? Let's see. Carl Otto Magnuson, maybe, or Lundaboy. Urban, no, they won't draft a Russian. They never do. Simon Wang, maybe.
That I can see.
Who else? Jacob Rombach. That would be interesting. Noah Jenkin, maybe. I don't know. I'm just looking at big boys who maybe.
The answer will come to Will at some point later tonight.
Ottawa has a first-round pick, so
is it a mid-first?
Probably on their list. Well, it depends on if they make the playoffs and how far they go.
Right. Okay, then it's like, what is the pick? Like 20 now? In and around there?
Yeah, like I imagine Murtka will be gone. I don't know. Like there are some forwards that play the style of play I think Ottawa's looking
Shane
for.
Van Saggy?
Yeah, I don't know. Right. Ottawa has a first that, yeah. Okay. So Ottawa might have a first round pick. Right. There's a condition on it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right. So it's an up in the air. So we'll see.
We'll get back to you.
But the question was middle of the draft.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I don't know. Who's the guy? There's a guy in Valdor I saw the other day who's kind of good, I guess. The big, gigantic defenseman.
Well, then they won't take him because he's kind of good.
Which player will be drafted a lot higher than expected? I think a guy like Brady Martin plays the style of play where I feel like an NHL team will value it quite a lot in this class. I could see him go really high. Maybe Jake O'Brien as well. Radim Murtka. Murtka might, especially if Seattle upsets Everett and Murtka keeps going. I feel like that could be a guy that teams jump on real quick. Maybe those guys. That makes sense. Thoughts on Emil Heinemann and what his potential could be? I love Heinemann. Big, goes fast, hits hard, shoots good, and it's working so far. Finland ekes out wins with game planning in junior. They don't develop certain players, and then their defense in the Four Nations looks like it does. I agree. I mean, they just play hard. They play as a unit. They play hard. They play safe, and they just grind it out, right? And you can win that way, right? But individual players, it's a little bit trickier.
The
playoffs
there.
Yeah, the last time the Leafs made the playoffs in 9 straight seasons was 58-67.
Yeah, but they won like 5 cups in that run.
They did, yes. Go Sens go, round 1 sweep. Hey, Jordan Millette, what's going on? I agree. Go Sens go. Let's do it.
Screw you, Jordan. Don't you dare bring that up.
An Ottawa-Toronto first round is, I called it at the beginning of the season. I said an Ottawa-Toronto first round. That's what I want. That's on my Ouija board. And if I get my wish, I'll be very happy. What is the best food in the world among main course dishes?
I don't know. There's too many good foods.
Dude, honestly, I'm thinking about the types of foods that when I eat them, I go, this is the best. And I think it's Indian food.
I can level with that, but I'm Italian and I have to go Italian.
Sure, of course. I think I will go Indian food because it is just awesome. I will also say there's something fun about the Asian cuisine culture where it's like, and I'm not saying like sushi, I just mean like little kiosks that serve little bits and bobs or maybe a little bit of barbecue food and done in an Asian way, like bulgogi or something if you're a Korean or whatever. That I really enjoy. But if I had to like order food or go to a restaurant or eat something, like Indian food probably is the one that is A+. Do you like F1? Yes, actually. We're gonna watch the race this weekend. That Japanese Grand Prix. We watched the first race. We're a McLaren household, and not because they're good now. We've been a McLaren household since the dark ages. During the pandemic, when everybody picked up F1, we picked up on McLaren. So we've got the McLaren gear. We got the McLaren gear at home. We actually, I should do a tour of my basement at some point one day. But we have
just not on this episode because we're already 20 minutes over.
I know, but we're gonna get there. It's ranking day. We can run. It's ranking day. We can run late. But anyway, down the hall, I have for our 10-year anniversary, I got my partner a slot on the finishing flag, the checkered flag at the end of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in 2022. So that was cool. I liked that one. That was a good one. We also have 2 custom-made paintings of Sebastian Vettel and Lando Norris on the wall, done with spray paint, like they're spray paint portraits that were done, and they're really cool. We have some good F1 memorabilia. My partner in return got me a spot on Sebastian Vettel's helmet for his last race, so I have a certificate for that. It's a good time. But this is a McLaren household first and foremost, and I will die on that hill. Why is Toronto the best city in the world?
Because I was born in it. That's it.
Right. Yes. It's a great city. I love Toronto. It is definitely one of the best in the world that I've ever been to, and I try to be unbiased. But I don't think it's the best city in the world. But in terms of like for what it is, I don't think there's a place in the world like it. I don't know. I love it. I love Toronto.
It's because the Leafs play here. That's why it's the best city in the world.
If I could afford to live right in the city, I probably would and stay there forever. But unfortunately, reality is very different, at least for now. And we'll see. But it is a great place.
My reality is I'm a freeloader, and thank you, Mom and Dad. And I'm right on the subway line, and getting to work is awesome because I don't have to drive, and it takes like 50 minutes to an hour 10 to get there, and I just listen to music or podcasts while I'm going, and it's just a nice ride generally.
And then there's people like Brian Stewart who are from Toronto or know Toronto and say that the transit is crappy. Go to any major city in America and the transit is pretty much awful ubiquitously. Like for North American transit standards, Toronto's pretty good.
The one thing I don't like about it is that there's no other lines servicing the same stations because there's no alternative routes. Like
Hey.
if line 2 goes out, I'm screwed.
Yes,
I am.
and say what you will,
I am
say what
fair and
say what you
squarely
will,
effed.
say what you will about Doug Ford, but in my opinion, the best thing he has done as Premier of Ontario is put his foot down and go, we are going to spend money and build a subway line in Toronto that goes across the city downtown because we are desperate for that. And it's been like 50 years of wanting that. And finally they're building it. It sucks. The traffic in Toronto is terrible, terrible. But in general, getting
awful.
around Toronto is okay. And Brian, yes, I agree. Going to London and Tokyo and stuff, the transit is better. Number one, London's been around for like a millennia, so they have lots and lots more time. They've been building subways for
A
150
millennia.
years. Yeah,
More.
London was a place, yeah, thousands of years ago. But I mean, like London. And Tokyo was leveled to the ground in the 40s, and they got a blank slate. So like, if you wanted to bulldoze the whole city of Toronto and rebuild it from the ground up,
Never.
you probably would have better transit. Toronto, it's like Canada is no man's land on the planet, and all of a sudden Toronto and Canada's population is like exploded.
Mhm.
But I mean, yes, I will admit they've been dragging their feet on transit forever, as long as I've been born.
Toronto
As long as I've been,
also wasn't supposed to be the metropolis city.
yeah.
So it kind of lags behind in terms of its roads and all of
Right.
its alternative routes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I think that it's changing. I think the public transit's getting better. Like once the Eglinton light rail comes on, that's going to help a lot. Anyway, it's going to
That
be better.
rail's
But
close to my
Toronto,
house too, which is nice. So I
yeah,
have two options.
exactly. Toronto, like I think Toronto is a lot better than it gets in terms of reputation. And getting around Toronto is not nearly as bad as people think it is, especially for North American standards. But I agree. You go to Europe or you go to Japan or something, and it's way better. But like, I don't know, we're not those places. The culture, you could take it up with all of the people who vote to take that stuff away. And that's just how it goes. That's what you get.
Yep.
Okay, let's close this out because my voice is starting to get tired and I need to go to the grocery store.
Yeah, and I need to play EU4. It's been far too long since I've played EU4.
I have seen your Steam profile show up playing that game, so that either is a lie or you're addicted and it's been 12 hours.
I'm addicted.
Oh, okay, so there.
It's been 3 hours. It's been 3 hours.
Okay, 3 hours. Who did the media hype up in the draft the most? Who did not work out in the NHL in your lifetime? Griffin Reinhart. Probably Griffin Reinhart. Who's a good fit for the Canucks? God, I don't know. I don't even know where the Canucks are going to pick. Are they going to make the playoffs? I don't think
Nope.
so. Yeah.
The St. Louis Blues have gone stupid, wild, good recently.
That's true. All of a sudden.
You know what's hilarious?
Yes.
The Boston Bruins have lost 9 straight games as well. I didn't even realize that until today, but we'll continue where we're going here.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question, honestly. I haven't really thought about it. And the Canucks kind of haven't had a draft. The Canucks haven't really drafted high very often recently. They took Lekaramaki and Willander. So maybe, I mean, they're not afraid to go to Europe. I mean, if a guy like Victor Eklund slips in the draft and he's there, they'd be dumb not to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe a Braden Coots would be fun in Vancouver. I don't know.
Possible.
There are some options. I don't know. Thoughts on Landon DuPont? He is sick.
He's so cool.
Sick. He's a really good offensive player, and there's going to be some good ones. Oh my goodness! A last minute Norwegian. We got Norwegian crowns in the chat here. Have you watched Stein Solberg in the AHL? Looks good. Yes, I've seen a little bit, and he is a fun player to watch. He's a good one. He's going to be fun for Ducks fans for sure. Thoughts on Sacha Boisvert getting yeah, so that's the rumor out there that Sacha Boisvert is leaving North Dakota with a couple of other guys because they got in a fight at a frat house and they're avoiding consequences for it. I don't know if that's like fully confirmed, but a lot of people are saying that. I'm quoting Donald Trump on this. There's a lot of people saying that.
Okay, I'm gonna end the stream in a second if you keep doing this. I want to end the stream. We gotta keep moving.
I know. But anyway, whatever. Best flavor of cake, vanilla or chocolate? Vanilla every day of the week forever.
What?
No,
now I am
vanilla.
ending the stream.
No, it's vanilla.
No. You're the worst.
London. Okay. Which 2025 prospect is likely to be this year's transit guy? We'll call it a day on this one. Lyndon Lakovich. Just because of our impression of him, he seems like a bit of a dork who
Don't call him a dork. He's my bromance.
I'm a dork. You're a dork. We're dorks. We're a dork club
No,
here.
I'm a nerd. Don't call me a dork.
Whatever. Anyway, thanks for joining us again, everybody who donated and helped us out. That's really, really meaningful. Really great stuff. Again, check out the pinned post for access to our rankings that will be the last post until June. If you have any questions, definitely DM me or anything. If you got gifted a subscription, email me, scouching@gmail.com. Give me some proof that you are the username that you are, and I'll set you up with a free account. Thank you very much for joining us. This was a lot of fun. We'll see you Monday night. There's going to be no show next Thursday because I will be in Columbus, but we'll follow up the next week and have some fun. So thanks very much. That's going to be it for today. AJ, parting words. How's things?
Go Leafs, go.
Yep. All right. Well, see you around.
See you
be
all.
safe. And
yeah.
Baby
LaSalle, first point watch tonight, baby. Let's go.